All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast. This is episode 25. And first, I want to thank you guys. I was trying to see if we could get to 200 likes to get the podcast started, and you guys pulled through really well on that one. So thank you guys for being here so early. We have, I think it's safe to say, a lot of topics to go over, a lot of stuff to talk about. It's going to make for some really, really interesting conversation, to say the least. So, yeah, I want to give you a brief rundown of the stuff that we're going to be talking about during this episode of the podcast. Obviously, this is a PlayStation-centric podcast, but you guys know, those of you who've been watching for a little while now, you know that I try to be a little bit more diverse. We don't just literally talk about PlayStation. In this case, a good chunk of today's show is going to be talking more about the recent Xbox event. I think it's safe to say that each week, you know, there's different topics, there's different types of discussions, but there's just those weeks where there's just more to discuss. There's just more interest in what we're going to be discussing. I think every episode of the podcast is great, but you really, and at least I do, and I'm assuming you guys do as well, you really look forward to these moments where there's just something really big happening, and there's just so much to talk about, so much to be said. So, yeah, once again, I want to thank you guys. We have already almost 800 people here, which is fantastic. If you could do me a favor, hit that like button to help the podcast out. It helps it way more than you know. I'm trying to grow the podcast, obviously, so if you want to help it out in a very simple way, just hit that like button. And I'm going to let you know what we're going to be discussing. So the first thing we need to discuss, it may be a little bit of a regurgitation, but frankly, it has to be said once again. And I want to interact with the chat once again when it comes to talking about just how badly Microsoft seemingly dropped the ball on this Xbox event. I know that not everybody sees it that way. I know that there are some people who actually thought it was good, and that's fine. I'm actually not here to try to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't like. If you're excited for Xbox's games, more power to you. All I can do during the course of this podcast and with my content in general is just give you my thoughts and my opinion, and it's up to you to decide whether you agree with it or not. And so, yeah, we're going to talk more about that in depth, but we're also going to be, or I'm going to attempt to anyway, compare the PlayStation 5 reveal event to this Xbox event, because I've seen a lot of people try to make these comparisons, and it makes sense to do so. They're both next-gen console events, and so I want to kind of just give you my thoughts on, you know, whose event I thought was better, which is obvious, but why I think, you know, said event was better than the other. And so we're going to talk about that. Now, the third topic, I'm going to have to call a little bit of an audible on this one, okay? Because the third topic was going to be based around recent rumors we got that are seemingly debunked by Cory Barlog himself. Now, I made a video the other day, and, you know, some people got upset with it because they're like, oh, it's just a rumor. But, you know, that's just the nature of how these things work. I feel like as long as an individual who's presenting the information is sure to let you know that it could be wrong, you cannot buy into it 100%. You simply cannot walk away saying, yup, that's going to happen for sure. It's going to be a reality, because you don't know. And so when I made this video, we went over some information that Moore's Law is dead, another YouTuber, gave us. He's claiming he got it from a source. He was sure in that video, because I don't want anybody to, you know, hate on this guy, because, you know, I thought his video was fine. He was sure to say that this information could be incorrect, okay? So I reported on it, and I let you guys know, apparently Sony has two big exclusives they're getting ready to reveal. One of those is apparently a God of War, and I think the reason why I just kind of leaned into this a little bit more than normal is because this is kind of what I was expecting. And give me one sec here, because I actually do want to... I want to get this members thing here to, hold on guys, there we go. I just wanted the member credit roll to go one more time, because I don't think everybody's name got to show up there. Speaking of which, if you want to support me directly, if you want to help me out, I am an independent content creator trying to grow the channel here. Consider becoming a channel member. You do get some exclusive perks, some exclusive content. And so, yeah, consider doing that if you want to support me directly. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying is I talked about, God of War and apparently another game that is in development currently and is being held back. It's a secret game. It's a launch title. And, a lot of people were thinking it's going to be Killzone. It's going to be SOCOM, Silent Hill, something along those lines. Another really important part of this rumor and this leak, if you will, coming from Moore's Law is Dead is he talked about the source claiming that Sony has some kind of secret spec upgrade that has already been done to the PS5 or is going to be done to the PS5. And I just want to let you guys know, we're going to talk more in depth about this. I'm almost considering maybe just making this the first topic since it's been essentially debunked by Corey Barlog. A lot of this sounded awesome. And so honestly, I think this is what I'm going to start with. I'm going to move this to the first topic and then we're going to move into the Xbox stuff. One of the last topics we're going to be discussing, but still a very big one in my opinion, has to do with Ghost of Tsushima. Guys, this game not only is incredible, I'm loving my time with it. I'm taking my time with it as well. It's an incredible game, but it's breaking records. It's breaking records, okay? It's the best-selling new IP this generation for Sony from their first-party studios. That means it beat out Horizon Zero Dawn. It beat out Days Gone, and it's just incredible. What's even more interesting to me, because that alone is amazing, what's even more interesting to me is the fact that apparently, if you go on Metacritic, it's one of the most highest rated games in terms of user score. It may even be the highest rated game of all time, which is absolutely insane to me. I kind of can't believe that. So we're going to have some discussion about that later on, guys. So yeah, I just want to give you a brief rundown of what we're going to be discussing. And at the end of the video, or the podcast, I should say, as usual, we're going to go over some general gaming news briefly, just to add some value to it. And then we're going to do a Q&A. I'll do a Q&A with the chat. It's always a little bit difficult to do that because the chat goes so quickly. But yeah, it's going to be a really good show. So once again, hit that like button and we are going to kick it off. I'm moving topic 3 to the front here. Have to call an audible. So we'll talk about topic 3 first. And it has to do with these rumors that have been circulating about the PS5. And it's really important for me to talk about this because I've been burned by rumors in the past. We all remember the whole 13 T-flop thing. And it was hard not to, partake in that given the nature of my channel and what people were saying at the time. But, it is what it is. And I just wanted to talk about it at the time. And it seemed like there was a lot of conversation surrounding it, but it turns out that it wasn't true. And so the reason why I'm bringing that up again is because I want everybody to understand that anytime I talk about rumors, I know most of you already know this, but there's just some people who walk around acting like I'm confirming something when I'm not. Anytime I talk about rumors or leaks, just know I want you not to believe it. Okay, don't sit there and assume it's true. I mean, you can get excited for it, just don't get too excited. Don't get overly excited because you're going to be let down, and these are always, when you're talking about rumor territory, when you're talking about leaks, you always have to take it with a massive grain of salt. And I know we're tired of hearing that. Our blood pressure's high and whatnot, but that's just the truth of the matter. Chris B, you're saying after that Xbox showcase, it's like the PS4 Pro has 13 T-flops. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I will tell you one thing. If there's one thing this Xbox showcase, I don't want to say the Xbox showcase, okay? I'll just say this. If there's one thing that Halo Infinite, that showing of Halo Infinite proved, is that T-flops simply don't matter. Everything the engineers have been saying, the people who know what they're talking about, when they say, yeah, the teraflop is not the most accurate measurement of a console's performance and what it's capable of, yeah, seems like that is, who would have thought engineers are right about what they're saying. So let's get into this, guys. We have some interesting rumors regarding the PS5 and PS5 exclusives. We talked about the rumor of God of War 5 and a secret PS5 launch title that is apparently a revival of a well-known PlayStation franchise. So, yeah. Let me just bring up the gameplay here for you guys, because I just realized I didn't do that. Sorry about that. There you go. So yeah, we talked about God of War 5. We talked about the revival of some PlayStation franchise. Vedger, you're saying, I really hope Mark Cerny has heard my prayers to get a Marble Madness reboot. Got really excited to hear those rumors about Cerny rebooting a classic. Well, man, you might want to tone down the excitement a little bit, because unfortunately, what we're going to be going over here, it doesn't take away, in my opinion, any of the excitement for what Sony has coming next, right? But, to me, these rumors sounded a little too good to be true, and frankly, I got overly excited. But let's get into this. So, we were also hearing from the same source that apparently Sony plans to talk about a PlayStation 5 spec upgrade. Nothing too intense, but we may also see some really interesting features revealed that almost imply that the PlayStation 5, to a certain extent, is actually beyond RDNA 2. Not that it really matters that much, but it's still very interesting to discuss. Essentially, the rumor is saying that the geometry engine inside of the PlayStation 5 is actually above and more advanced than RDNA 2, and that the geometry engine, or whatever they're doing inside of the Xbox Series X, is actually just RDNA 2. Again, this is what the rumor's claiming, or the source. This would explain Mark Cerny putting so much emphasis on the geometry engine during the Road to PS5 talk. The source is also implying that the PS5's ray tracing capability is extremely custom, to the point where it could actually end up producing superior results, although the source could not confirm this to any capacity. Finally, the spec upgrade could see the CU count, or the compute unit count, memory speed, or clocks. Now, that to me is a little bit weird. The clock speeds increased slightly. Now, we do have to take this with a massive grain of salt, but listen, I need to give you guys a little bit of an update here, and thank you for that, Khalib. So, what is that noise? I'm hearing a beeping, and I don't know if that's coming from inside my home or outside. Okay, that's coming from outside. Sorry about that. I was like, is a smoke detector going off? Because that would have been bad. But, yeah, sorry. I'm getting really distracted here, guys. But I came across this article. Okay, somebody actually put this on my Twitter timeline. New God of War PS5 game, recent rumors debunked by Cory Barlog. Now, I'm going to read this article live, because in my opinion, if Cory Barlog is debunking the rumors of PlayStation 5 exclusives, there's a good chance that most of this info has also been debunked. Now, I do want to make it clear, even though I did watch Moore's Law is Dead, his video, a couple of times, I honestly can't recall if he made it clear that this source, like, were they separate sources or the same source saying all this stuff? I mean, I'm assuming maybe they were separate sources, but either way, again, this is why we have to kind of take it easy with the whole, believing this stuff, because if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. It says here, given the wild, critical, and commercial success of God of War on PS4, it's not a stretch to suggest that a sequel is in the works. Some, however, have recently suggested that the game is coming sooner than one might think. Recently, for instance, YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead suggested in a video that the next God of War could be revealed in the rumored August State of Play, and that it would be releasing in 2021. As many predicted, however, there doesn't seem to be much truth to that rumor. God of War director Cory Barlog recently took to Twitter, and though he did not directly refer to the rumors in question, he made it very clear that the talk of God of War 2 being revealed in August doesn't hold much water. Developers SIE Sony Santa Monica are recruiting for development, presumably for the next God of War, while PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan has suggested that there's many more unannounced PS4 games still to be unveiled. And so I'm looking at his tweet, and he says, looking at some of the news over the last 24 hours, and he puts a gif of, I guess, one of the Autobots laughing, saying, ha, ha, ha. And it's true, he's not directly referencing it, but, we know what he's talking about. I mean, maybe he saw the videos, and he saw what people were saying, and, when I put out the tweet saying this, and I have to admit my mistake, and this is absolutely nothing against Moore's Law is Dead, because I'm not trying to make it seem that way. But when I put out my tweet, I said that this news is coming from a very credible source. And a lot of people got upset with me because they're like, dude, it's not like you're overselling it. Like you're getting people's hype levels too high. and you shouldn't be saying it's a very credible source. And I think it was actually Jor Raptor who pointed this out. And you know what? I agreed with him. I was like, you know what, man, you're right. I think I may have accidentally oversold it, at least in my tweet, because the tweet gained a lot of traction. And it just, I don't want to be that person that gets people overly hyped just to be let down. So I was sure in the video, if you go watch the video, and I'm not trying to go on defense mode here, but I do have to cover myself. I was sure to say within the first 2 minutes, like, this is a rumor. You can't buy into it. Do not believe it 100%, but it's still something, in my opinion, that is certainly worth talking about. And frankly, considering the nature of the rumor, it's hard not to get excited. I already kind of believed that Sony was holding on to a potential God of War reveal at some point. So yeah, I don't know if this renders the entire, source and what these sources were saying about the PS5 spec upgrade, untrue or anything, but we have Oyakarumi saying Xbox is a joke, always has been a joke, and will continue to be a joke if they don't do anything about it. I know it's harsh, but it's true. Yeah, dude, I mean, I had to go in hard on yesterday's video because we have to acknowledge their shortcomings, because there have been a lot of them over the past couple of years, and they did not at all, in my opinion, deliver in the way they needed to. We'll get into that. iSiler18, you're saying 2021 is too early. I imagine it's a spin-off for God of War, like Uncharted and Spider-Man. Crazy if it's a Thor, or if it's Thor's story. Yeah, that's another possibility. I mean, who knows? Maybe Cory Barlog could be kind of messing with us here. He could be trying to throw people off the trail potentially. Maybe he does like to mess around on Twitter a lot, so maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe we will see something akin to Spider-Man Miles Morales, but for God of War sometime in 2021. Sony seems to be finding a lot of success with this kind of cycle where it's like, we're going to show you the big AAA game, and we're going to release the big AAA game, and there's going to be a sequel at some point, but in between the big AAA game and the next AAA game, you're going to get something a little bit smaller, tighter package, standalone DLC, but is still big enough to kind of be its own thing. I'm not too familiar with it. I do remember that Cory Barlog did talk about DLC. I think it got scrapped, or it's going to be rolled into the next God of War, because he was saying that it basically ballooned and got too big, and people were telling him, like, dude, this is like a game, and it's like in and of itself. This can't be DLC. So who knows? I mean, it's important to highlight this stuff because we have to understand that Sony does have a lot to show. To me, again, like, I want to believe this. I want to believe that we're going to see the next God of War, but if you follow my Twitter timeline, you'll know that the day of the Xbox event, I tweeted out, I said, you already know Microsoft has a trailer for the next God of War locked and loaded, ready to go if need be. Then the Xbox event came and went, and then I highlighted, or I quote tweeted my own tweet, and I said, never mind, it's not needed it's just simply not needed. And I do believe that, it wouldn't truly, if you're thinking ultra rationally here, as rationally as you can think, it would not make sense for Sony to come out with and reveal God of War right now. They most likely could if they wanted to, but you have to understand that what they showed already is already very strong. We already have the big AAA title for 2021, that being Horizon Forbidden West. So the idea that we're going to see another massive AAA game, like a sequel to God of War, release in that same year, it's possible. Again, Spider-Man and God of War did release in the same year, but it just makes more sense considering all of the games that Sony already revealed at their event, that they're going to, be kind of holding that off. I see somebody saying, y'all seeing what Cory Barlog has been doing on Twitter? He's been laughing off all of the God of War rumors. Yeah, that's what I just mentioned. And you have to assume that means, okay, I guess they're not real, but he could be trying to throw people off the trail. We don't know. We have a new member, Eddie Blue Jr. Thank you so much, buddy, for choosing to go above and beyond here and support me directly. Anybody else who wants to become a member, please consider doing so. I am an independent content creator. Join the channel, become a member, help me out. You do get some exclusive perks, as well as a little PlayStation logo that evolves over time next to your name when you comment on the channel. So thank you, Eddie Blue Jr. Really appreciate that. We have iSiler18 once again. You're saying, I have a feeling that DLC wasn't actually canceled. Yeah, I mean, again, you see what they did with Uncharted, Lost Legacy. You see what they're doing with Spider-Man Miles Morales. it seems likely they could be doing something like that. Does that mean it will be revealed this year? It's hard to say. We don't know. Seemingly they didn't do it for, well, technically they did do it for Horizon Zero Dawn, if you think about it, with the Frozen Wilds DLC. It wasn't, I mean, I don't think that was kind of pitched as big of a standalone, but it probably could have been, so I don't know, guys. When it comes to the games themselves, I'm gonna be honest. Wendigo, sorry. You're asking if there's any update on the new merchandise or the merch, and I will let you know real quick before I continue on this topic. I am in the process of getting everything together. I'm more further along than I ever have been. It's still going to take a little bit of time because I have a lot that I'm going to have in the store and in the shop, and I think some of the stuff you guys are really going to like. At least I'm assuming, maybe I'm off on that, but when I launch it, I will be sure to let you know, and I'll probably be plugging it a lot when it launches to make everybody aware of it, and obviously you'll be able to see it right underneath the videos that come out. So if that's something you're interested in, look forward to it. The merch will be coming hopefully in the next 2 weeks, so look forward to that. But when it comes to this rumor, I don't know if I believe the games. I mean, one of the sources was claiming that there's some type of PlayStation game or a franchise that's been associated with PlayStation that's going to get a revival, and Mark Cerny's working on it, and it sounds great, right? It sounds great, but let me tell you this. I wouldn't feel too disappointed if none of this is true, simply because, listen, God of War this rumor may be wrong in the fact that, God of War is not going to be revealed next month. But that doesn't mean it's not coming. We know another God of War is coming. It just might come a little bit later than maybe some people are hoping. So in that sense, it is okay to be excited because God of War is a mainstay for PlayStation, always has been, always will be, especially now more than ever. So you don't need to worry about that. But it then brings up the question, what about the remainder of this rumor? What about the rest of what these sources or source, whether it's one or multiple, what are they saying, right? About the geometry engine inside the PlayStation 5, about the spec increase and all this other stuff. I want to say it's possible. I mean, look, both Sony and Microsoft, they're most likely tweaking the hardware to some extent, not just Sony, to some extent. To what extent, it's hard to say. Could Sony actually up the CU count? I don't think that's something they can do. I don't think that's something, I'm not the most technical person, but based off of my understanding, I don't think that's just something that Sony could be like, you know what, let's bump it up a couple compute units. I just don't think that could happen. When it comes to memory speed, yeah, I think that's something they could probably alter. Clocks, obviously, are things that they can continue to adjust if they have more, headspace to work with, or overhead, I should say. That's something that they could do. When it comes to full backwards compatibility, again, wouldn't anticipate it. It's still something they could be talking about, but let me just put it to you as simply as I can. To me, these rumors are just interesting to talk about. They don't really mean that much to me at this point in time. They don't mean as much to me as they would have, say, back in February or March, because we know a lot about the next generation right now. We waited and we waited and we waited patiently for Sony to talk and do the big reveal. And they did. And it certainly did not disappoint. And so when I think about, you're saying the PS5 APU has 40 compute units on it. Yeah, I don't know if maybe they could free up more or something like that. I think maybe that's, the 36 are turned on. You're saying there's 40, but usually they disable a couple for whatever reason. I think that's for yields or something like that. So maybe they could do that. That's a possibility, I guess, but it might be risky for them. But, anyway, I'm just saying, these rumors don't get me as excited as, say, they would have a couple months ago, because what Sony already showed me is more than enough, man. If this is all they want it to show going into next generation for the remainder of the year, I'd be happy with it. I mean, obviously, we need to see the UI. We need to see the features that the UI and the console itself is going to offer. We need to know more about the create button. We need to hear more about PS4 backwards compatibility. But when it comes to, you're talking about new PlayStation 5 exclusives, I would be totally fine if we honestly didn't get anything else revealed. But we know that that's not going to be the case. Unless Sony decided at the last minute, you know what? That Microsoft show was such a disaster, we don't have to show anything more. We'll save it. That's a possibility. I hope that's not the case because I'm hoping for at least a couple things. But that's a real possibility at this point. Plasmic H, you're saying with the PS5 already in production, I don't see how they'd change the hardware this late in the game. Exactly. That's another thing that maybe makes you just scratch your head at some of this because it's like, well, maybe the idea is it's not so much that they're going to alter the specs of the PS5 now or in the future, but maybe it's something they already did right before the PS5 went into full production. That's my assumption because I believe Moore's Law is Dead kind of made it sound like he was holding on to this info for quite some time. He was just waiting for the right time to talk about it and release it. He was trying to vet and verify the individual and the sources before he talked about it. So it is possible that if any alterations were made, they were made before it went into full production. And if we are going to learn about them, it seems extremely likely we will learn about them once Mark Cerny does the teardown. And it might just be something that he briefly mentions, right? I'm not necessarily saying that could have been the plan all along, but I will tell you this, it's difficult for me to care at this point in time so much about the spec talk anymore because it's more irrelevant than it ever has been. It was more relevant during the conversations of, 13 T-flops, 12 T-flops, and who's going to have the better hardware and who's going to have the faster console and the better this and that, GPU, compute units. It was easier to talk about that stuff back then because it was really all we had to talk about, right? Now we've seen it. I mean, we've seen Sony and Microsoft show, and I'm going to ask you guys right now, chat, let me know, who the hell is still sitting here saying, yeah, I can't wait to get the most powerful console in the world? It's like, I don't know. That's not how I feel. Panthorium, you're saying we need to see the rear of the PS5 for NVMe card support. This way we can see if it will support heatsink bulkiness and 1 to 4 terabyte storage space. Yeah, that's something I'm assuming Sony is saving purposely for the teardown, right? And I do think Sony has some surprises. They might not be as big as some people are hoping, but let me put it to you this way. When it comes to specs, when it comes to features, when it comes to things they haven't announced game-wise, I think there is a decent amount that Sony has still held back. I just don't know how big they're really going to be. You know what I mean? That's the thing we have to speculate about because there's no doubt, make no mistake, Sony did hold back stuff. We just don't know how much, and we just don't know how significant it is. We have NGK, you're saying, after watching the Xbox showcase, I decided to smoke crack for the first time. Wow, man, that's depressing. I really, don't do that, man. Don't do that. See somebody saying, why does MBG sound so different? It might be because of my mic. I'm using my new mic. I got it a couple weeks ago. So if this is your first time tuning in a while, that could be it. But definitely stop doing that, man. That's going to deteriorate your health rapidly. Not good for you. Eddie Who, you're saying people should be thanking Sony way more for actually showing what next gen can look like. Crazy the PS4 is putting out better graphics than Halo Infinite. Yeah, that's the thing, man. I'm definitely going to be going on a rant a little bit later on in this podcast about that because I've seen some people really go in hard defending Microsoft. And I want to be honest with you guys. I understand it. I've been there before, but enough is enough. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. Don't worry. Controller Critic Gaming, you're saying, hey, MBG, how likely is it that the secret PlayStation exclusive is SOCOM? I feel Sony needs a new big multiplayer title to show on next gen. I really want SOCOM. When it comes to the likelihood of it, I want to say that there's a 50-50 chance. I've talked about this as well, and this does kind of lead into the last section of this topic where we have to talk about, okay, putting this spec stuff aside about RDNA 3, the geometry engine. We already know the PS5 is legitimate, okay? That's why I just can't spend too much time talking about specs. The PS5 is a beast. It's a monster. It's going to produce amazing results for all games, especially first-party exclusives. So if they want to, surprise us with anything else, that's just the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, right? New NES Braga, you're saying, what up, MBG? Listening while grocery shopping. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But to get back to Controller Critic, what you're asking, this brings up the question, if we're not going to see a God of War reveal, right, at this August State of Play or this August event, whatever it may end up being, if we're not going to see God of War, are we going to see Silent Hill or something else like SOCOM? Well, let me tell you, I think we're going to see something. I would tell you this. I would only anticipate one new big game. And I know that may sound disappointing to some, but you guys have to take a step back. And I'm sure most of you already know this, but for those who think that may sound disappointing, one new PS5 game, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want to take a look again, if you forgot, at how many exclusive games, how many next-gen PS5 titles Sony actually announced, and how many of them are actually exclusive, and how many of them are actually coming from first party as well. I think it's 9 total first party games, how many they revealed at this event. And to expect more than just one game, honestly, might be expecting too much. That's not to say they don't have more than one game in development, but to expect them to reveal it now, that might be expecting too much. DP is what I'm going to call you. I just don't feel comfortable reading that name. You're saying I'm definitely getting the world's most powerful console, the PS5. Yeah, shots fired, man. Shots fired. We also have Team Impact. You're saying Moore's Law got their information from Red Gaming Tech. Go check out their latest video where they go in-depth on the newest PS5 features. Okay, yeah, Red Gaming Tech is also another channel that, claims to have sources and whatnot. And to be honest, guys, I don't follow these guys close enough to know their track records, which again is why I apologize for saying very credible, because that implies that they've been correct more times than not. And I'm not saying they haven't. What I'm saying is I don't know. So it just doesn't make sense for me to say something as if I do know. So I have to apologize for that. But I don't know what their track record is. I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to wait to see if it comes true, And I've watched both of them enough to know that they do let us know, look, these are just the sources, and what they're saying, they might not be right, okay? Excuse me. Brett Williams, you're saying we haven't seen any gameplay actually running on the Xbox Series X. Halo was running on a PC. PlayStation did an entire show running on PS5, 12 games with gameplay. Yeah, Brett, I have to say, that right there says a lot. You hear the excuses that Microsoft is currently making and the excuses their marketing team is currently making for why they didn't show it on the Xbox Series X, why Halo Infinite looked the way it did. Maybe those excuses would be acceptable if we saw Sony in the same boat, and it's okay, this is just a really bad year. This is just a really bad year for gaming, and neither of these companies can get things done correctly, but that's not the case. We see one company not making excuses, literally saying we're going to let the games do the talking for us, which they did, and they showed it on their new console, and the other company is not doing that at all. So Omega Slasher Buster, you're saying I'm hoping for Parasite Eve to be the secret exclusive. I'm going to be honest right now, guys, if there's any secret exclusive game, the most likely game we're going to see, is Silent Hill. Okay, so I'm not saying we won't see anything else. I'm just saying that's the most likely. But Zach, you're saying watching the Xbox event sold me more on Game Pass than buying the new Xbox. I'll buy the PS5 and Game Pass on my PC. Well, to be honest, Zach, Microsoft still sees that as a win. We might talk about that a little bit later about why I'm not so... Look, I'm not as into Game Pass as some people are. I'll just put it that way. We might talk about that a little bit later on, just to finish up this topic so we can move on to the next one before I spend too much time on this, because I know you guys are eager to hear me talk more about the Xbox event. Just to get back to the idea of will we see SOCOM? Will we get more multiplayer titles? To be honest, it's kind of surprising to me that Sony did not reveal seemingly any significant multiplayer titles other than maybe, I know Gran Turismo will have multiplayer, but, that's a given. But then you also think about Godfall, but that's not from a first party and that's not really competitive. So it's just looked at as it's a nice co-op game, it's a third party exclusive co-op game, which, I'll probably play it. Doesn't look bad. But we didn't see any shooters. We didn't see anything that's going to go toe-to-toe with Halo or something like that. Where's SOCOM? Where's Killzone? Where are these games? Where's The Last of Us multiplayer? And to be honest, deep down, I am anticipating that we're going to see one of these 3 games I just listed, or even like a Horizon multiplayer spinoff. One of these 4 games I just listed and rattled off, I'm anticipating we're going to see one of them announced or revealed before the PS5 comes out. I could be wrong. I'm most likely wrong, but we know Guerrilla Games has a second team that's working on something, and it is multiplayer. We just don't know what. I would imagine we're going to see that. If we don't see it this year, we will have to see it next year, but I would love to see SOCOM. I would love to see it. I would love to see Killzone. I'd love to see The Last of Us multiplayer. I like multiplayer. I love single player, but I also like my multiplayer games as well. So if Sony wants to show some more multiplayer, I'm all for that. Chase the Chosen One, you're saying, it was said that Halo Infinite was struggling to hit 4K 60 on FPS Digital Foundry. They said they might have to downscale it to maintain 60 FPS. Yeah, I saw that as well. To be honest, one of the Halo developers recently heavily implied, we're going to actually mention this later on in the podcast, they heavily implied that Halo Infinite is going to run at a dynamic 4K. Once again, I personally don't care. If the game looks good, it looks good. Halo doesn't look good, let's be honest. I don't care about dynamic 4K. What I care about is all these Xbox dudes jumping all over us saying, you wait, you guys are going to get inferior games. They're going to run at a lower resolution. Games are going to look and play best on the Series X. And then your number one game, the most expensive game developed in the history of gaming, okay, can't hit native 4K 60 FPS on the world's most powerful console. There's something seriously wrong with that. We'll talk more about that. As I said, we're moving right along here. iSiler18, once again, you're saying you will be very disappointed if the revival game is Jack and Daxter. Hopefully it's Resistance. Also, The Last of Us multiplayer is long overdue. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that Last of Us multiplayer, dude. I'm hoping we see it, but I'm starting to think maybe it got canceled. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Straight from VA1, you're saying I have Game Pass and all the games aren't that great. Most of the third-party games are on PlayStation Now, which is cheaper per month. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Team Impact, you're saying, I think we are getting a new Jack and Daxter game. Sony is working on it. Secret launch title, this would be awesome. That would be, I mean, I think that's somewhat plausible, right? It is plausible. I just don't know who else would be working with Mark Cerny on it, you know, unless maybe it's just a new team or something. But guys, I want to, before we move on to the next topic, thank you so much. We have over 3,000 people watching right now, which is absolutely incredible. Frankly, that is a new record for the podcast. So we're going to move on to the next topic, which is going to be probably the meat and potatoes of this podcast. That is talking about this Xbox event, because we have more to go over. There's been some updates and stuff. So do me a favor, hit that like button. We're already at 800 likes. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 likes, and let's see how far past that we can get. So hit that like button. We're going to move right along here. And thank you guys for the super chats as well. Let's talk about the Xbox July event, which you're seeing in the background. And I want to say this real quick. You're seeing the Hellblade 2 update that Ninja Theory gave for this title. It blows my mind, absolutely blows my mind, that Microsoft actually put this showcase on and didn't reveal, at the very least, bare minimum, a new trailer for Hellblade 2. I think they should have done gameplay. Frankly, take out the Halo gameplay or reduce that Halo gameplay to 2 minutes and then show 8 minutes or 5 minutes of Hellblade 2 gameplay. You want to have a successful show? That right there is how you have a successful show. How long did it just take me to think of that? It took me, what, a couple seconds here, right off the top of my head? Now, granted, maybe Ninja Theory wasn't ready to show something, but frankly, to me, that's kind of unacceptable. If I was running Microsoft, I would turn in and be like, what have you guys been doing this whole time? You don't have at least a 5-minute section of the game that's polished enough to show off, or even just 2 minutes, like we saw with Ratchet and Clank. To me, that would be unacceptable. I mean, did you guys hear? Guys, I literally cannot fathom this, okay? I cannot fathom this. That game Everwild, the game that Rare's working on, which looks really strange to me, when they were asked, like, how come you guys haven't really talked more about this game? How come we haven't seen more of it? Their response, now I'm paraphrasing, but this is essentially what they said. Their response was, we actually haven't worked out any of the gameplay mechanics yet. We don't know what the game is going to play like. We don't know what these game mechanics are going to entail. And I'm just like, I'm literally in disbelief because I'm thinking to myself, guys, I understand you've been updating Sea of Thieves and they've been doing a good job at that for sure. But what else have you been doing this entire time? Like, you made a game that to some people looks aesthetically interesting, unique. But when it comes time to describe what your game is, you're saying you don't know. Like, the video game that people are going to play, you don't know how they're going to play it. Also, looking at this right here, this section with Jack Black singing, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Jack Black. I'm not against him either. Like, I think he's funny sometimes. I think he's cool. Seems like a cool dude. What is going on here? Whose idea was it at Microsoft? You know what? Rather than showing gameplay or a new trailer of Hellblade 2, let's show an extended trailer for Psychonauts 2. Nothing against this game, by the way, but let's do that. And then also have Jack Black singing in the background. Genius. Lock it in. This is going to make our show. Oh my God. So RBO7, you're saying what on PS5 looks visually as good as Crossfire X? Dude, look, I'm going to say pretty much everything that was shown. Crossfire X looked good, but I'm going to be real right now. Who the hell is that hyped for Crossfire X? Okay, nothing against the game. Even me, even somebody who loves modern military shooters, that's not the game I'm thinking about. That's not the game I walked away from the show being like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I can't wait to play that. Nothing against it. I'm just saying, like, that's not the game that you show to showcase the power of the world's most powerful console. It's just not. Okay? It's just not. Dieter you're saying Halo Infinite must be the most expensive game ever made because 343 Industry has Butterfingers. Yeah, it's telling you, man, they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball big time, but I'm ranting so much here, I kind of forgot. Oh yeah, I just wanted to point out that, look, I'm nothing against Rare. If anything, this is against Microsoft's management. How could you allow them to work on something for a couple years just to have them say publicly, oh, we still don't know what the gameplay mechanics are? Like, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Like, I'm telling you now, if that was under Sony, that studio would have been shut down. Maybe not shut down, but man, they would have got scolded. And they would have realized, like, oh, okay, maybe we need to start hunkering down here and really thinking about how to make this an actual video game. That's something we can actually show to our bosses, say, this is what we came up with, right? Like, gameplay-wise. That just blows my mind. That's genuinely concerning. This could explain why you look at Halo Infinite and you're like, who at Microsoft signed off on that? Who at Microsoft sat down in an executive chair, watched this gameplay, said, yup, let's do it. Oh, man. Sergeant Salty, you're saying Crossfire X is another Bleeding Edge. It definitely looked better than Bleeding Edge. I'm just saying, like, it's just not, like, I mean, if you walk away from Xbox's show saying, hey, that game Crossfire X looked pretty good, yeah, it did look pretty good. But it's like, is that really the game that made or, you know, broke the show? I don't think so. Is that really the game you're going to go out and buy a Series X for? I don't think so. We have Glory Boy Steve. You're saying if you get an Xbox Series X day one, you're a cuck. Okay, well, I mean, I'm definitely not getting one day one. Xbox Series X is a console that, frankly, I don't know if I'm ever going to own one. To be honest, I'll probably own an Xbox Series X the day they have a game that's just exclusive to either that console and PC, and you can only play it on either one of those platforms, maybe State of Decay 3. Then I'll buy a Series X, but certainly not at launch. Saving my money, honestly. Space Bear, didn't we see God of War gameplay 2 years out? How far out are these games? Yeah, dude, that's another thing as well. We did see God of War gameplay pretty far out, right? And it looked really good. Even if that was the only gameplay they had completely constructed at that time, they knew what the game was going to be. They knew how it was going to play, and they knew it looked damn good, and it felt good to play. And they showed it, and people were like, holy shit, look at this, you know? We didn't get that moment at this event for Xbox, and they desperately needed at least a single moment to be that, like that God of War moment. Panthorium, you're saying Crossfire X not available on single player for Game Pass. It's sold separately, even though Phil Boy promised. All games shown. He lied to his base. Shaking my head. I don't know the truth to that. I'll take your word for it, but if true, damn. The Mark Shark, you're saying, I can't believe Phil would repeat the biggest mistake Xbox did at the beginning of this gen by basically saying you don't need to upgrade to next gen. Yeah, dude, it's like Don Matrick 2.0. It's like Don Matrick all over again. He's like, well, we have a product for, those gamers and those people, and that's called the Xbox 360. It's like, how, no, that's not how you sell a product. That's how you don't sell a product. And Phil's doing the same thing. But then again, Phil's banking on Game Pass. Phil sold Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, on Game Pass. Maybe rightly so. I'm not a businessman. I'm not running Microsoft. I don't know the future of Game Pass, but he sold Satya Nadella on it, not the console. And that's what people need to understand. Michael, you're saying, Assassin's Creed was shown on Xbox. That could be why it didn't look good after seeing Halo. Geez, I sure hope not, dude, because that sounds like a disaster in the making. Chris B, you're saying, will you talk about Microsoft maybe breaking their 2-year non-exclusive promise makes Game Pass more expensive for those who thought they didn't have to upgrade? Yeah, I'll get back to that and we'll talk about that in a moment because that is also pretty interesting. Demon Lord Omega, Ace Pilot, you're saying, I smell corruption at Microsoft. This is why their gaming company is lackluster, inefficient, dispassionate about gaming, and etc. And we also have Panthorium. Once again, you're saying the Crossfire X demo showed fine print on bottom that said Game Pass available for multiplayer, but not single player. See for yourself. Yeah, dude, I did see that disclaimer. The only part of it I read is I remember there was something else, another disclaimer that came up that said like Xbox Live Gold required or something, but I wasn't able to read the whole thing. It was there and gone pretty quickly. But you know what? You're probably right, dude. And that's not cool if that's true. Like, what the hell is that? How are people supposed to be excited about, how are people supposed to feel like, oh, Game Pass isn't going to kill the future of single-player games? Yes, it will. Mark my effing words. Yes, it will. This is why I'm going to support Sony, dude, because Phil can tell me all he wants that Game Pass is not going to kill the future of single-player games and, not damage it, right? He can tell me that all he wants. But when he says things like that, which he hasn't been saying that, for the record, he has not been saying that. If he were to say something like that and then show me, look at Halo Infinite. It's the last Halo they're making for a while because it's becoming a game as a service. Look at Forza Motorsport. Why do you think they didn't call it Forza Motorsport 8? Because it's going to be a service. Why do you think Fable isn't called Fable 4 or Fable something? Because it's a service. Granted, we will get Hellblade 2, and as far as we know, that's single player, and that's fantastic. But how big is that game really going to be? Is it really going to be the AAA game that we've been waiting for? I think it'll be a great game regardless, but is it going to be the game we've been waiting for? What about State of Decay 3? Granted, State of Decay has always seemed like the type of game that's great for multiplayer, which I'm not against, but is that also going to be a game as a service, right? That game Avowed, maybe that could be a big single player game, but something tells me I wouldn't be surprised at all to find out there's some type of multiplayer to it. We heard rumors that Fable was going to be an MMO, which were quickly shot down because, oh, wait, no, it's not an MMO, but it does have MMO-like features or shared world features. It's a service game. Okay? Like, that's the problem. That's what a lot of these people who are defending Xbox right now, where they're like, but all these new games, man. And I'm just like, but are they services? Because that's what it's starting to seem like, But Chris B, just to get back to what you mentioned, because I think you brought up a good point here where you're like, will Microsoft consider breaking their 2-year non-exclusive promise? And you're asking this, I'm assuming because, I saw a report come out of, I don't know, maybe it was Kotaku, I believe. I don't really read them too much, but occasionally they do have an interesting take on something. And this was one area they did have an interesting take. They talked about how a lot of these games shown off, it just said Xbox Series X and PC, and it made people confused, like, wait, which of these games are going to be coming out within the next 2 years and they're going to be on Xbox One versus which are, like, are you implying that these games are actually going to be exclusive if they come out next year or in 2022, or does this mean that they're not coming out till 2023? And again, marketing at its worst, man, confusion. And to be honest, I wrote down a quote that a spokesperson from Microsoft gave. I want to see if I can find it here because it's relevant to talk about it right now rather than waiting. Here we go. Well, before I do that, we have Aya I'm just gonna call you AG. It's sad that PlayStation is the only hope for us getting decent, high-quality games. The industry is turning into a new business model based on greed. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people love the quality from Nintendo, but when you look at Nintendo, they're just simply not making those like mature-themed games, honestly, that Sony is, and that's okay. Nobody's screaming that they need to, but this is why I support Sony the way I do, because it is really starting to feel like they're the last one, like kind of sticking to what I, as a gamer, as a consumer, like best. Seems like they're the last one just really holding out in a big way, the last platform holder. And, you know, they clearly have they have this respect for single player and high quality, you know what I mean, that you just don't really see. Maybe you see it from like CD Projekt Red and Rockstar and other developers. I'm sure I'm failing name right now, but just the fact that their whole philosophy as a company seems to be based around that, that's a big deal to me. Vedgear, you're saying even the Xbox community's damage control sounds like some cheap troll excuse on what we saw at the Xbox July show, which doesn't look good at all. Dude, that's what's concerning to me. Not concerning. Frankly, it's surprising, as I've seen a lot of the Xbox community themselves, even you're talking about the most hardcore, be just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, I've seen a lot of them basically turn around and be like, I can't believe they actually blew it. I can't believe they dropped the ball. I've witnessed this. Right? And not everybody's that way. And don't get me wrong, I do have some positive things to say about the show, but in my opinion, the negatives greatly outweigh the positives, and they stand out like much more. They stick out like a sore thumb, honestly. So I have to talk about them before I talk about any of the positives. We have Aki, you're saying Game Pass is going to be quantity over quality, maybe even microtransactions. It will not foster innovation and pushing limits, but a fast food joint. Yeah, dude, 100% agree. That's why I'm not about Game Pass. You can tell me all you want. Not you. I'm not yelling at anybody who's super chatting or anybody in the chat, but I'm saying anybody who's all about defending Game Pass, you can tell me all you want every day, all day, left, down, up, right, and center, how it's the best deal. And we should be thanking Microsoft because we can get all these games day one for $10. I'm not going to thank Microsoft for shit because I'm a consumer, and I'm not going to thank them for basically saying, yeah, we're all about that service subscription microtransaction model. I'm going to say, get out of here with that shit. That's what I'm going to say. Oh, Yakarumi, you're saying, didn't Sony give Hellblade to Xbox? If I'm wrong, they did not do anything for it. And to me, that is wasteful. Yeah, I have to say that is one area where I think Sony may have dropped the ball themselves, where when you talk about Ninja Theory, it would have been great to see Sony scoop them up rather than Microsoft. But frankly, I'm glad that Microsoft got them because in all honesty, they're one of the only studios at this point that has a game we know about that I'm actually really excited for. It would have been nice to see them under Sony, but I feel like it's something Microsoft needed way more than Sony did. So we also have Guilty Smoker. You're saying, sorry, bug snacks. Yeah. Sergeant Salty, you're saying Little Devil Inside is better than Halo I think you meant to say Infinite, but yeah, dude, listen. I keep like my mind's racing right now because I have so much to say, but let me read this to you real quick, guys. Microsoft has caused further confusion with some of their messaging and game reveals. Many are under the impression that Fable, Forza, and more first-party titles are Xbox Series X exclusives and will not be cross-gen. When Microsoft was asked about this and this is what they responded with, and this is what they said: our future Xbox Game Studios titles are being developed natively for Xbox Series X. We will continue to invest in tools for devs to scale across consoles. Which consoles each studio/games can support will be based on what's best for their game and their community at launch. What? Look, that's not the worst answer in the world, but that doesn't answer the damn question. That's not a good approach. I know they may think it is. Maybe it's good for the devs, and I'm all about what's good for the devs, but you have to consider the consumer. It may be good for the devs to sit back and say, oh, you guys can do whatever you want. Put it on Xbox One, PC, and Series X, or just put it on Series X. We don't care. That's great for the developers, but what about the consumer? What the hell is the consumer supposed to think? So now, if somebody watched this event and they were excited to see Avowed, if they were excited to see Fable, granted, we know these games are not coming out next year. State of Decay 3 as well. We know they're not coming out next year, but you're left to either imagine or assume that, oh, well, they're probably at least 2 years away, so they're only going to be on the Series X. So maybe it's worth investing in a Series X at that point, but you don't know. Because what Microsoft is saying, well, that's not true. If the Playground Games decides they want the next Fable game to run on the Xbox One, and it will be, I'm assuming, a service game. Okay, I'm assuming it will be a service game to some extent. They don't have to make it for the Series X. And it's just, what I'm trying to get at, guys, is it's not helping the situation. I know Microsoft and their marketing, they may think this is a good thing. And there are some consumers I've seen who think that this is a good thing. But I'm telling you, especially after what we saw with Halo Infinite, this is not a good thing. Okay, if you are somebody who has been defending, well, it's great that they're doing cross-gen because that's consumer friendly. Well, guess what? I'm all about consumer friendliness, but there's a limit and there's a price to be paid for everything. And in this case, the price you are paying, you can see it clear as day in Halo Infinite, and you will, mark my words, you will see it in future titles as well. You're going to see the price being paid. There's a price for everything. All these people who want to shove it down my throat and go on defense mode and say, but Game Pass is the best deal, bro. You know what? That's fine. Good for you. Go support Game Pass. But you're going to see a price paid, and the price is either going to be in the quality or it's going to come in the form of microtransactions, because that is what Microsoft is trying to do here. Why do people not see this? It's so obvious. It's so obvious, and it's sad. It's sad. It really is. We have Hio. You're saying, Hio China, you're saying Game Pass is not good. Have you ever streamed a game? They don't produce 444 like consoles. The quality is garbage. Well, I don't know if Game Pass is streaming, but I will tell you, like, I've never actually played a game streaming, but I gotta tell you, man, like, Jesus. Fearful Tuner, you're saying you seem to be getting froggy, MBG. LOL, I've never seen you so fired up before. LOL, keep it up. Look, I'm trying my best to, keep calm. Like, listen, I know me having this energy can only improve the podcast. I'm not trying to completely shit on anybody or anything here because, look, I see it there. Single player, I saw it. I saw that little thing at the bottom there. It says the single player is separate. So you're not wrong. It's on screen now, or it was briefly. But I'm not trying to shit on anybody who's excited for the future of Xbox. I'm not trying to even shit on Xbox, because the truth is, like, again, there are good things they have done here. But let's be completely real right now, guys. Like, we need to get down to the nitty gritty here and be completely honest, okay? Was this show what it needed to be? In my opinion, and I'm not saying everybody needs to feel this way, but looking at people's reactions, not just mine, it seems very clear. I am certainly far from the only one who feels this way. Not at all. This wasn't even close. And it's sad because, the next topic I'm going to move on to in a little bit here, I want to compare and try and point out some reasons why when you compare PlayStation show to Xboxes, because I've seen some people try to say Xboxes is actually better or just as good. And you're just wrong. You're just wrong, because when you go into these shows, there's an expectation for each individual company. And that expectation is different. And the reason why it's different is because based off of that company's history, based off of their recent announcements or their recent decisions, that alters the pressure, that alters the expectation. You look at what Sony's been doing. Look at The Last of Us 2. Look at Ghost of Tushima. Look at Final Fantasy 7 just this year. And then you look at the games that came out years prior. Okay, you look at this entire generation. It's no wonder Microsoft has as much pressure on them as they do, rightfully so, because when you compound that with the fact that Xbox not only can't keep up, but they've actually been screwing up this generation. Yeah, the expectation is, Microsoft, your show needs to kick the shit out of Sony's. It needs to. This is sink or effing swim here, man. Like, this is it for you. At least for me. This is it for me. And Spacebar, you're saying, I think Halo 5 made 1 million off of microtransactions. I can definitely see a lot of their future games going this route. Yeah, and Microsoft's trying to make up for it, because like, well, Halo is going to have a single player, and I'm sure Fable will as well, but it's like, that's fine and that's great, but you can very clearly tell these games are being made to be a service. And if you're all about that, once again, you go do you. Go do you. More power to you, but I'm not about that. I never have been. I never will be. It's not to say I'm against multiplayer. It's not to say I'm even against service games inherently, but when that's your entire, seemingly your entire business model. Let me ask you this, guys. Simple question. And this would, if I could talk to Phil Spencer, I would literally ask him this. This is probably the first question I would ask him. I wouldn't ask him, why does Halo Infinite look so bad? Why did you show so little gameplay? I would ask Phil Spencer, Phil, why did you decide that instead of showing the Initiative's new game, instead of showing maybe a little gameplay slice of that game, maybe opening the show with that, a big surprise, right? Why did you decide it would be better to show this gameplay clip of Halo Infinite? And something, I don't know what Phil's response would be. I don't know what Team Xbox's response could be. I can only assume, however, that their response would be something along the lines of, well, Halo is our mascot and Halo is our biggest game and blah, 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 blah. Dude, wasn't Phil Spencer the same guy who said that, all these guys, all these people who were saying Halo, Gears, Forza is all we have to offer, that's just a meme? Really? Really? It's just a meme? When that's literally what you opened your show with, Halo and Forza. It's just a meme. It's just a meme. It's just a meme. It's just a meme, guys. It's just a meme. Well, I'll tell you what. There are a lot of memes right now. And if it wasn't already a meme, it certainly is now. And it's sad and funny at the same time, but my God. Hio China, you're saying Xbox showed games that are not coming out for the next 2 years except for Halo. And even that looks rushed. Why is Xbox important right now? To be honest, it's not that the games look rushed. It's the fact that, you don't know what they are. Look, I'm gonna get into the comparisons with Sony's show, but we'll get into that. But I will tell you, the lack of gameplay in this event, the fact that the only gameplay was focused on Halo that was the killing blow. Okay? It wasn't the lack of gameplay itself, frankly. It wasn't. It was the fact that the gameplay they decided to show was horrifically bad. Horrific. It was horrific. I call it horrific because it's this has done so much damage. I saw a video. Hold on. Dieter Ruse, you're saying, missed Sir Speaks a Lot super chat. Also, if no feet reveal, then how about kitty reveal? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. No feet reveal. We're not going to see about that, but cat reveal maybe in the future. And I apologize if I missed that chat. It's, sometimes that happens when I'm on an intense rant as I, sometimes get on. Let me see here. Sir Speaks a Lot, you're saying, don't dunk on Xbox, dunk on the lack of feet pics. No, dude, I'm going to dunk on Xbox. I'm not dunking on that. That's, yeah. This meme whatever this is needs to die on my channel. It needs to die. But anyway, guys, getting back to what I was saying here, I think that it was the killing blow because it's if Microsoft didn't show this Halo gameplay, or maybe it was dramatically reduced down to 3 minutes and that was the only gameplay they showed. If Halo looked better than it did, significantly better, this would be a different conversation. It would frankly be a different conversation. If it looked next gen and whoa, this is the evolution of Halo, equivalent to what we saw with God of War 2018, basically for Halo, we'd be having a completely different conversation. And honestly, the lack of gameplay we saw throughout the remainder of the show would be much more easily forgivable. But the fact that this gameplay they showed was as bad as it was, on top of the fact that it was the only gameplay you actually showed off, is just such a shame. We have Matrix, you're saying Microsoft focused Halo is native 4K 60 and cost. Native 4K is a waste. Smarter to have good upscaling and free the GPU to provide better lighting, polycount, etc. Dude, listen, Matrix, I have no idea why Halo Infinite looks the way it does. I wanted to tell you guys something as well. I'll tell you in a minute here. True Witty, you're saying, so Halo has a $500 million budget with 1,500 devs on it and it looks that bad. They are not selling me a Series X, and there was a few I like. It was disrespectful. I mean, dude, like I said in my video yesterday, I think the most important thing I said in my video yesterday was the worst thing Microsoft did with this event, especially with that Halo gameplay. And I have to, I've seen people trying to defend the Halo gameplay like, oh, it's just one game. What about the other games? What about the other games? What about them? Did we see gameplay of them? I'm excited. I'm excited to see State of Decay 3. You know, I'm excited to see more of Fable, but did we see that? No, we didn't. In fact, I don't know what the hell to expect from any of these games other than Halo and maybe Hellblade. But we didn't see anything of Hellblade. So what do you mean the other games? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. Because all I can do is judge this show based off of what was actually shown. They didn't even show Forza gameplay. They said Forza's in early development, which I'm like, what? Like, how is that even possible? Not that I have a problem with that. Maybe it's better to give it a little bit of a break. But still, like, it's just, there's so many baffling things. Matrix, you're saying 4K 60 ray tracing on PC is impossible. UE5 1440p was good. Physics, effects, geometry, textures, ray tracing, resolution all compete over one limited pool of resources. Yeah, I agree, man. Like, it's not always just about hitting the native 4K resolution. It's not all about just going all in on one area. You have to have a good balance all across the board. Sergeant S, you're saying Jim Ryan, games will do the talking. Yes, Sergeant Salty. That was my favorite thing said during the PlayStation 5 reveal event, was when Jim Ryan allowed the games to do the talking. And that's what he said. We're just going to let them do the talking for us. And so I'll let you guys know. I just, you know how I feel about this Xbox event. There's something I want to mention. Oyakarumi, you're saying, let me ask, if Xbox decided to stop making games one day, would you care? I would, because at that point, if they completely stop, then there's never a chance. Like, it's gone. There's no more chance ever again of them potentially making something good or great, or even just okay, right? I'm happy for State of Decay 3. Like, I'm happy for Fable, but what I'm not happy about is the show and the way it left me feeling. You guys know, for those who have listened, you guys know I went into this show being like, look, I'm excited. I think this is the moment. This is the moment for Microsoft, and they're not going to screw it up. How could they? And that wasn't me being like, you know, hyperbolic, I don't think. I think that was me just being real. Like, look, they need to deliver. Yavani, you're saying the strategy of all the freaking games are that they're supposed to be system sellers for Xbox Series X are also coming to PC/Xbox One X. It's dumb for Xbox. PS5 is going to sell crazy. Yeah, the amount of jokes I've seen recently of people basically being like, oh, you know, this is why Sony doubled PS5 production. It's pretty funny. True Witty, you're saying MBG, where was the mic drop moments that Phil promised? I don't know, man. I don't know where it's at. And we also have a new member, D Matrix. Thank you so much, buddy, for choosing to go above and beyond and support me directly here. If anybody else wants to become a member, feel free to hit the join button. It's a way for you to support me directly. I am an independent content creator, and the direct support helps me so much. You don't even know. So look forward to your exclusive perks, buddy. Thank you so much for that. Shout out to all my members. And so one last thing I want to mention before moving on to the next topic is I saw this interesting video from Rich of Review Tech USA yesterday. I watch him from time to time. I think his content's pretty good. And he had a really interesting video where he was saying he got leaked info or inside information from a source. And in my opinion, if you go watch this video, maybe he made a slight mistake claiming that unless Microsoft said it's okay. He mentioned that his source worked on this game and that game and this game. He mentioned 3 games, and all 3 games were Microsoft games. And I'm like, is your source Phil Spencer? But this is what he was saying. And oh, you're saying you can't join, sadly, because your region. Yeah, that's on Google's side. But he mentioned this, and the video was really bizarre to me. It was really bizarre because I'd watched a couple videos prior of Richard Review Tech, and he was talking about Halo, and, you know, he kind of inspired me to talk more about it. Like, yeah, you know, there's some serious issues here. And he wasn't being like ridiculous about it and like just stomping it. He was just saying like he's worried about Halo and it doesn't look very good and it almost looks worse than Destiny, And I agreed with them. Controller Critic, you're saying if Game Pass is about playing anywhere, put it on PlayStation. Yeah, they said that's not going to happen. But Richard Review Tech, like in this latest video, it was really weird. He made it sound like he had like this inside information, and the information essentially boiled down to this person very clearly from Microsoft. It almost seemed like Microsoft literally contacted him and asked him to talk about it. The information was, it boils down to, like this is why Halo looked the way it did. This is why it was running and the way it did. And, there's been there was an engine change. They started with Unreal Engine 4 and decided to make their own Slipspace engine. And it was weird to me because it was like, they're just like, this isn't like it may be inside information, but they're excuses, they're explanations, but ultimately at the end of the day, they're excuses. And it was just so strange to me the way he presented it, because it was like, I mean, it's interesting, I guess, but does it change anything? It doesn't. And it almost read to me, and I'm not accusing him of anything, because I like Rich Review Tech USA. I'm just saying, like, it's just bizarre to me. I've seen these videos popping up. I saw Lana Pierce defending Game Pass recently. I've seen these videos popping up of people defending Microsoft, and it's just weird to me because it's like, I get it. Like, I get that from a rational point of view, you're trying to maybe point things out that are good. Like, you're not just trying to focus on the negative, but the amount of defense I'm seeing from prominent figures is what's bizarre to me, because it's like, can we not all agree that this show, at least at the very least, that Halo Infinite display was a disaster? Can we not agree on that? I think we can. I think it's safe to say that everybody should be able to agree on that. It was not at all good, right? If you want to defend the rest of the show, fine. True Witty, you're saying the mic drop moment might be games at 4K 30. True Witty going in hard here. We have Matic Brick, you're saying thank you for giving me the confidence to start doing YouTube. Love everything you do. Well, I'm glad to hear that, buddy. Best of luck to you. Matic Brick, go for it and just keep grinding, man. Put the passion in there and keep grinding, and I appreciate your support, buddy. But I'm just mentioning, like, these content creators I've seen and how they're, like, I watched Alana Pierce's video, and again, I like Alana Pierce. Like, I don't follow her that closely, but, anytime I see her or listen to her, she seems all right. I noticed that she was it's worth mentioning, she was part of Jeff Keighley's Xbox pre-show. And she did do an interview with Aaron Greenberg, I believe, recently. Oyakurumi, you're saying it's a good thing you didn't take me up on that bet about a face reveal, right? Or you would have lost big time. Yeah, I definitely would have. But I listened to her video recently, and it was really strange to me because it was like she was, and I appreciated the video because it was like you could tell she was kind of like revved up and annoyed, and you could just like feel the passion. But she was defending Game Pass, and I get it, I get it. You want to point out how great it is that Game Pass is only $10 and you can get access to all those games that Microsoft showed off. But like, it just bothers me that I can never get on board with that argument. Because that's just not good to me. Like, it's like a buffet, like, what is it, the Golden Corral? Now, I haven't eaten there in years, and I don't even know if there's anyone around me, but I went to the Golden Corral like once or twice in my lifetime, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever, because I'm like, oh my God, I only got to pay this much to get in, and I can eat anything? And then I realized almost immediately that, like, this food is garbage, yo. Like, you're getting what you pay for. You may have access to everything, and granted, there is a lot of variety, but I was like, this tastes like shit, and I never went there again. And that's kind of what Game Pass is to me. Like, not as bad. I mean, I'm not saying all the games on Game Pass are terrible or anything, but it's just, I don't anticipate that when you tell me you're going to get the best deal, right? $10 for all these games. I'm immediately, and maybe it's because I'm a pessimist, but I'm immediately going to assume that, okay, none of these games are going to be that great then. How could they be? Right? Fearful Tuna, you're saying Yeah, where's our face reveal, you dirtbag? Listen, I don't know, guys. It'll come eventually, all right? I mean, my content over the long term is going to evolve. My channel's going to evolve, and I can only assume, however, I am not confirming, but I can only assume that over time, eventually me going on camera or whatever will be something that happens in the future. But yeah, I don't know. I guess at this point, I'm a little bit nervous to do so, but you know, it'll probably happen in the future. Maybe I'll do a face shot in my merch or something. I don't know. I'm not confirming that either. But Nate, you're saying in an interview they brought up what a year to release the console, and Phil said they decided on the release year ahead of time, so they had years. Yeah. Edgy Clammy, you're saying, MBG, I tweeted you Alana Pierce's video. Can we please talk about Xbox? She's all about the cheap, good deal, and is missing the point that Xbox Game Pass is the exact reason Microsoft may never do games like God of War and The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, I did watch the video, and I wasn't like, you know, she did have some points, but in my opinion, there's two sides to every coin. Even my argument here, there's another side to it, where if you're somebody who wants to say, well, what about all of the games, the new games Microsoft did show? And it's like, yeah, you're right. They did show new games, and people can no longer say Xbox has no games, right? But was it enough? Was that the only expectation Microsoft had to meet? What about Halo Infinite? What does that say about what we can expect from future gameplay reveals, right? There's problems. There's a lot of problems. There's two sides to every coin, but you'll find that one side of that coin usually shines a lot brighter than the other, and it's way easier to focus on. And in this case, for Microsoft, that side is not the Game Pass deal, in my opinion. Like, it's just a bad take because it just comes off as like a cheap defense. Literally, like, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, a cheap defense. It's like, that's not, I don't care. Like, and she mentioned like developer greed and stuff. And it's like, I get it. That is something that's prominent in this industry, and it needs to stop, at least to the, you know, going as far as it has went this generation and as far as it may continue to go. But they're two separate things. It's almost like implying that because Sony and because other developers want to charge full price for their games because they feel as though it's worth it, that automatically makes them greedy, and we should demand that we get that in a service for $10. And it's like, no. I'm going to be real right now. If Sony wants to charge me $70 for Horizon Forbidden West, I'm going to pay it because I know it will be damn worth it. All right. Fongli, you're saying Game Pass is just the DRM they tried shoving down to the player at the beginning of current gen. Yeah, it very well could be, man. Very well could be. Aki, you're saying I voiced my concern on Game Pass on Alana's channel and got no traction. Sad stuff. Haha. People are just unimaginative of consequences. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, I feel like some people are just trying to see the positive, and it's like, it's not like there isn't a single positive to be seen. But again, there's certain, like, one side of the coin is going to shine brighter. And in my opinion, the side of the coin here that maybe has a lot of negatives, potentially long-term negatives attached to it, is shining a lot brighter than just the, oh, but it's a great deal. You know, Fearful Tuna, you're saying, I want to see that beautifully evil Cheshire cat smile. Yeah, I don't know, man. I do that smile quite frequently when I'm doing these podcasts, but I don't know. SF, you're saying, guys, I have Game Pass, and it's not just cheap games. They have Red Dead 2 in there, Metro Exodus, and a ton of other AAA games. It is a great value. And that's the thing, SF. Like, I don't want to make it sound like there's nothing there for Game Pass. Like, I'm not trying to make it sound like Game Pass is garbage and you should never subscribe to it and it doesn't have a place in the industry. And look, we should acknowledge that it is a good deal and that there is value there. But for me, and this is just my take on it, I'm not so much concerned about whether or not I can play games like Red Dead and Metro in Game Pass. I'm just not, because that's not how I play games, and I do think that certainly adds value to Game Pass. What I'm actually concerned about are Microsoft's games. And the reason why it's so concerning to me is because Microsoft, regardless of how many great third-party titles they get into Game Pass, doesn't seem like, let me put it to you this way. Microsoft will go out of their way to get Red Dead 2 onto Game Pass. And they could say, look at this high quality game on Game Pass. Hell yeah, Red Dead 2 is as high quality as it gets. That's great, you know? But the question is, but what about you guys making games on that same quality level? Oh, well, we're service where you get all our games for $10. What do you want? We're trying to make a service here, right? Like that's the vibe I get from Microsoft. And that's why I'm not so much concerned about, whatever it is that they're trying to get for third party. That's great. But it's more the Game Pass concern for me lies within, well, what does this mean for your games? Not necessarily third-party games, right? Sergio, you're saying criticism is needed for gamers to get the best. I agree. Like, I'm not saying Sony's perfect. I'm not saying everything they touch is gold. That's not true. But at the same time, I'll keep using this analogy or this metaphor. One side of the coin shines significantly brighter. And for Sony, the side of the coin that shines really bright is the things they've done right and are continuing to double down on going into next generation. Okay? Doesn't mean they're perfect. Doesn't mean there isn't another side to that coin where things are not so great and there are negatives. But let me tell you, it's really hard to focus on that when what I'm seeing is shining. The part that's shining and catching my eye is the good stuff. Demon Lord Omega, you're saying Phil Spencer, along with Neil Druckmann and the rest of his cronies, needs to resign or retire before they destroy the gaming industry. More PS4 fan and PC. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just gonna let the pieces fall where they may while trying to voice our criticisms in a respectful way. I mean, I may be getting heated, but I like to think I've been pretty respectful. I've not been shitting on anybody. I've not been taking shots at Xbox. I'm just voicing my genuine concerns and criticisms just in a very energetic way. Becky, you're saying some games looked good. CG trailers are good at showing the game concept. My main problem was there wasn't any gameplay to show for these next-gen games. I agree. The CG trailers do a good job at showing you the concept, but you want to, like, it's a video game, right? So it's like you want to see gameplay. Granted, again, this is where Sony isn't perfect. Sony didn't show gameplay for everything, and I would have loved to see it. I would have loved to see gameplay of Demon's Souls and Horizon and Spider-Man, but we know it's going to come. But most importantly, we know when that gameplay does come, we know it's going to be high quality. With Microsoft, you don't know. And that Halo Infinite gameplay does not give you confidence, right? Real quick, guys, we have over 2,800 people still here hanging out with me. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, hit that like button. We're already over 1,100 likes, almost at 1,200. Let's see if we could get to 13, maybe even 1,400 likes. Really helps the podcast out. Moving along here, we have True Riddy. You're saying, I think Halo will be in parts a long-running Halo for Game Pass with no ray tracing at launch. I'm not hating, just not happy, but it might be split through the generation. Yeah, they did make it come off that way. It's a game as a service, and it might get single-player updates, which is great, but how substantial are they really going to be? And is that what Halo fans want after 5 years? Do they want to get maybe a shorter campaign and told that they're going to get more later on, or would they just want to get more up front? J Smith D305, you're saying, how much faith do you have in the rumored November 6th Sony State of Play? What games do you expect or hope to be shown? I didn't hear anything about a November 6th State of Play. I think you may be referring to the August State of Play. It's 50-50 for me. It makes sense, but I'm not sitting here thinking, yup, it's going to happen for sure. It wouldn't surprise me if it does happen. It wouldn't surprise me if it didn't. However, we know Sony has more to say and more to show. Michael Stemp, thank you so much for the donation, buddy. You're saying the momentum Sony has now, and after a 7-year failure from Xbox and now having their first look be a lie, then also another lie for this event, knowing a 2-year deficit is the reality is worse than Xbox realize. Yeah, you do make a good point here, Michael. It does seem to me that some Xbox people don't seem to understand why a lot of people are not happy with this, why some of them are so upset, and why a lot of Xbox fans are saying they're going to go buy a PS5. It's not a good combination, man. Microsoft has it bad on both sides. They have bad marketing and they have bad gameplay. And you could get by having one be good and the other bad. If Microsoft had great marketing and their gameplay wasn't that great, they could still at least get people pumped through the marketing. But they're failing from a marketing perspective, in my opinion. And it works the other way as well, maybe even better, where if you have terrible marketing, but you let the game speak for itself, not only does that take the pressure off of the marketing, but the game speaks for itself. And so they don't have that with Halo Infinite either. So it's a double whammy for them. Miles Dag, you're saying, is Microsoft still the best option to get WB? I think they're just as likely to either get it or not get it as Activision, EA, or Take-Two, honestly. But yeah, that's something that has yet to be seen. We'll have to wait and see what's up with that. Eddie, who you're saying, have you seen Digital Foundry's review of the showcase? John Linneman held their feet to the flame. Talented devs and game design really matters, especially moving into next gen. You tried telling some of these guys. Yeah, I did. Thank you, Eddie, who, because that's the thing is like I get some hate thrown my way because they think I'm hating. I'm not. Like I'm a gamer, man. And granted, I am 100% on board with PlayStation, especially now more than ever. It doesn't mean I want Microsoft to die. It doesn't mean I want them to fail. Guys, you heard me. Going into this event, I wanted them to succeed. I wanted them to actually show me something that makes me go, holy shit, like they're not effing around. And maybe this podcast would be the complete opposite where Microsoft nailed it. And we're talking about how excited we are for a lot of the games they showed, but it's hard. It's hard for me to do that when it's like they didn't do that. They didn't, you know? Just replace Halo's gameplay with Hellblade 2 or a bigger glimpse at Fable or the Initiatives game. Just do that. The main man, you're saying this guy, Beardo Benjo, said that Halo looked like that for nostalgic reasons and it was intentional. All the flat textures and the terrible graphics are intentional. You should watch it. It's ridiculous. I'm going to be real right now. And I forgot to give me a second to loop this media source because apparently I forgot to do that. Give me one sec, guys. There we go. Apologies for that. But I'm going to be real right now, and this is no offense to anybody, but I'm not going to waste my time because that's a really weak argument. I mean, you can very clearly tell and you can very clearly see that they were trying to capture that Halo nostalgia from the first game, but to sit there and say, oh, well, the game looks as bad as it does is because they're trying to make their next-gen AAA Halo game look just like the first game. Like, what the F? Like, what does that even, what the fuck are you saying? Like, what does that even mean? You know, like, I really hope nobody is, I really hope nobody's actually saying that with conviction because that makes zero sense. That's actually offensive. I find that offensive. I'm just kidding. I'm not easily offended and I don't care, but I think it's really dumb for anybody to be saying that. So we are going to move right along here. We're still talking about the Xbox event, but this time we're going to change up the dynamic of the conversation because I want to actually compare Microsoft's event to Sony's. So once again, guys, you guys are crushing it, absolutely showing amazing support for today's podcast. Really can't thank you enough. If you could do me one more favor, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but hit that like button because, guys, if you had any idea of how important getting likes are for the algorithm for YouTube to share out my podcast, it's ridiculous. There's a reason why I'm begging for them. I mean, I don't think I'm begging for them, but just reminding you because it's important. It really helps. And that actually goes for any other content creator. If you're supporting any other content creator and you like them, hit the like button. It actually really helps out. They don't really tell you how much it helps out. I don't think YouTube, that is. Anyway, we're moving right along here, guys. We now have to compare the two shows. Let me get to the super chat first. Rodney, you're saying, here's a cup of coffee so you could maintain your energy. PlayStation, flawless victory. Actually, I do have my cup of coffee right here that I have totally forgot to take a sip from, so I'll do it now. Here's to the PS5, right? Always that awkward silence. But, all right. We need to compare the two shows now. We need to talk about what made Sony's PS5 reveal event such a success and why almost everyone was left feeling good or relatively impressed. And no, it's not just because people are going to say anything Sony does is great or gold, because it's not. That's actually another thing before I finish reading off my little paragraph here that I have to mention is I've seen that. I've seen people coming out here saying, oh, well, if this was a Sony event, you'd be praising them up and down. Absolutely wrong. If Sony showed something like this off at their event for the PS5, I I would grill them harder than I'm grilling Microsoft, because it's more it would be more shocking. I mean, with Microsoft, it's almost like, okay, they messed up. We've seen that a lot. With Sony, it'd be like, whoa, you guys are like, if they showed a game like Halo Infinite, the way Halo Infinite looks on the PS5, I would say you need to, as The Rock once said, and I'm paraphrasing, you need to take your game back to the you need to take your stuff back to the drawing board, because your game absolutely sucks. Okay, I'm quoting The Rock here and I'm failing, but it's a funny little thing. But that's what I'd say, because it's like, that's not acceptable. This is not acceptable. Okay. Chris B, you're saying the irony is the past event was basically a standard Xbox event. It would have been fine if this was in 2018 or 2019 and not 3 months from a console launch. I agree, Chris B. That is the irony here, is the fact that you're talking about, years and years of getting disappointing show after disappointing show, lack of games, lack of high quality games, while your competition is just completely outdoing you to the nth degree. And this is the moment where it's like, you're going to show what you've been holding this whole time. And granted, we did see more game reveals in this event than I think any other prior event, but there needed to be more. There just needed to be more. Sir Speaks a Lot, you're saying it's funny how fast damage control was activated. I'll be honest, like, I can respect the Xbox fans who are like, look, I still like Xbox and it wasn't an entirely bad show, but the Xbox guys who can acknowledge that this was not what it needed to be, and especially that Halo gameplay was kind of a disaster, I can respect them for that, because it's like, that's what Xbox fans need to do at this point. I'm sure they've already been doing it. I've heard a lot of Xbox guys saying that we've been demanding more, we've been asking for more, and this was the moment for them to show it. But it's like, look, you got to call a spade on this one. Anyway, let me finish reading this paragraph here. Yeah, so I will tell you right now, people are not saying Sony's showing was better just because it's Sony. It's because it was better. So the most important thing is that Sony showcased more meaningful gameplay. Sure, maybe the gameplay demo we saw from Halo was longer than any gameplay that Sony showed, but when I tell you that the gameplay Sony did show was significantly more impactful than what we saw here, you better believe it. You really better, because that's the truth, and that's the most important thing to understand here. Because if Microsoft showed even just slightly more gameplay, and it was better, significantly better, and the complete opposite of what Halo's was, again, we could be having a different conversation. And in the future, we might. I'm not anticipating that Hellblade's going to look bad. I'm not anticipating that some of these future games we saw, like Fable, Avowed, and State of Decay 3, I'm not anticipating they're going to look terrible. It would be a damn shame if they did, but that's not what I'm anticipating. But right now, we have to acknowledge what was shown. Anyway, I know I sound like a broken record. I keep losing my place. So granted, they didn't show that much gameplay, but again, the gameplay they did show was more impactful, especially when you look at, say, Ratchet and Clank. And we also saw Gran Turismo, but especially Ratchet and Clank, the gameplay looked genuinely impressive. Ratchet and Clank actually showed off, things that can be done on this next-gen console with the teleportation. Not only did it look beautiful as well, but they showed off things that can only be done on their next-gen console, right? And that's exciting. Ekim, you're saying Microsoft's showcase was geared to sell you on Game Pass. Sony's showcase was geared to sell you on next-gen console. PS5 has the hype. 100% agree, buddy. Couldn't say it any better myself. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. We have Rodney, you're saying Tetris game had much more runtime during their event than most of their exclusive IPs. Yeah, dude, that's concerning. That Destiny segment was concerning. Was that Phil Spencer's doing? Phil, I know Phil loves Destiny, so he's like, yes, let's do this. Dude, you can't be showing a game that came out years ago. It's nice that it's coming to Xbox and it's still being supported, but you don't know. This is not the time. Absolutely not the time whatsoever to be showing. You want to show Tetris? Fine. Spend less time on it. You want to show Destiny? Fine, I guess. Maybe no more than 15 seconds, okay? And we have Oyakarumi again. You're saying how many are... I'm I'm trying to read this correctly. How many of the Xbox fans are going to give Xbox the benefit of the doubt? And how is that working out for them? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, dude. Like, even I was burned again, man. I was burned again. I said, I'm going to give Phil one last chance. I'm going to believe him one last time. I'm going to listen to his words when he says he felt good after the PlayStation 5 showcase. He felt good, implying that he absolutely believes his show was going to be better. And I've heard, get this too, guys, I've heard some people claiming from the inside, and at this point, I can assure you, I do not give a shit. I'm just going to be as real with you as I can. I do not give a shit. I will listen, not pay attention. I will listen. I will hear it. Don't care. I've seen some people saying, well, Microsoft changed up the show at the last minute. Turns out they actually have more they're going to be showing, and they decided to hold back. And I'm just, dude, get that out of my damn face. I do not care. Microsoft had their chance, and they blew it. Doesn't mean I'm never going to look at them again. Doesn't mean I'm never going to pay attention again, but I am done. I am done ever believing a damn word that comes out of Phil's mouth. I'm done listening to any of the Xbox executives. Anytime I talk about what they had to say, it's probably going to be to grill them, because I'm done. I've listened. I've waited. It's over, you know? And if you show, at this point, if a game drops and it looks good, I'll play it. Then I'll talk about it. But I'm done. I'm just done waiting, man. I'm done being let down. Locoism 1025, you're saying stop the damage controlling. PlayStation event showed 12 games with gameplay. Yeah, I mean, it seems to me, you know what, you are right. I think I'm underselling it here, where more of the games that they showed, a lot of the trailers did show more gameplay in general. So you are right about that. We also have a new member, Rodney Perez. Thank you so much, buddy, for going above and beyond and choosing to support me directly. I am an independent content creator, so all of my members are so greatly appreciated. And yeah, become a member, guys. Become part of the club. You get some exclusive perks, some exclusive content, and you support me directly. Thank you, everybody, for all your support, but members definitely help. Torado, you're saying my biggest concern is PlayStation not doing as good as they can because their competition is dropping the ball. I want Microsoft to do better so they can push them. That is a legitimate concern, Torado. I want to say that it seems unlikely at this point in time Sony will risk getting complacent, but that's a real possibility. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I've been saying I want to see Microsoft do well, to keep Sony on their toes and ensure that Sony can't get complacent. I don't think Sony will. Just because they can doesn't mean they will, but it would always be a more ideal situation if they simply can't, right? Without like something disastrous happening. KG, you're saying, wasn't this Xbox's second game event of the year as well? That's sad that they couldn't deliver not once, but twice. I agree, dude. It is sad. iSiler18, you're saying Game Pass is amazing for the casual crowd, but for the core audience, we played these games years ago. Exactly. That is a really good point, iSiler18. Very good point that I didn't even think of, where that's the thing about mentioning games like Red Dead 2 finally making it to Game Pass, Metro. These games go into Game Pass more often than not, I think almost every time, when they're like years removed from their release or close to being years removed, to where the people who, like, it's just like I said, the people who actually care will already be there. You know, and I get that it is a good way to introduce a wider audience to some of these great games, and that is definitely a benefit of Game Pass, but we have to acknowledge that it's like, yeah, we've already been there, you know? Like, we've already supported these games. Chris B, you're saying, yeah, I don't think I'll be watching another Xbox event live again. I'll wait for the memes. Don't get me wrong, just because I'm saying I'm done doesn't mean I'm done streaming their events. You better believe at this point, I'm going to stream their event at this point, probably just, I don't want to say just to grill them, because that's not fair, but I'll tell you this. My expectation going into the next Xbox event is disaster. That's what I'm expecting. And if it's anything other than that, then I'll be like, wow, look at that. It wasn't a complete shit show, you know, when it comes to the gameplay they're showing. That's my honest take on it, guys. Lazum, you're saying it's weird how many media outlets and YouTubers ignore the value of PlayStation Now. I bet many of them haven't even tried it since it launched back in 2015. Yeah, that's the thing, dude. Like, people get on me because you're like, you're just against Game Pass. Do you see me promoting PlayStation Now? I'm just not about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both services, I just like made a weird noise there, but both services probably have their value but that's not how I game, man. And I'm not saying everybody needs to agree with me and game the way I game. I'm just letting you know what I think, and I just don't care about these services. I just don't. In the future, maybe I'll care about them more, but right now I don't. Adam CF, you're saying Halo Infinite is built with the old Xbox One hardware at its core. It's exactly like you said, MBG, not a showcase for next generation graphics. Thank you. Yeah, I don't mean to toot my own horn. That's absolutely not what I'm trying to do here. But I did say that I will not believe anybody, especially Phil Spencer. Like some guy on Twitter one time told me he was going on and on about how it's really pro-consumer and we should listen to what Phil Spencer said about games not being held back. And I told him, dude, the difference between me and Phil Spencer is I'm not trying to sell you something, okay? I don't believe for a damn second that any next-gen game being developed with both pieces of hardware in mind will truly be a next-gen game. Does it mean it's going to be a bad game? No. And that's not to say that Halo will be bad, but my God, that did the worst possible job in trying to make people and convince people that, yeah, games won't be held back. Oh God, man, show Watch Dogs or something at that point, right? OG Spliffington, you're saying you're talking about Destiny, but PlayStation started their event with a Grand Theft Auto 5 announcement. Come on, stop being a hypocrite. Dude, okay, couple things here. Did I not say that GTA is kind of BS? I think it's cool that PlayStation gamers, I think anybody who buys a PS5 for the first 3 months will get it for free. That's great. But don't mix it up here. Sony had a single game talked about or revealed during this event, a single game at the very intro of it to get it out of the way, to show their continued partnership, letting us know GTA 5's coming. Am I happy about it? No. Unless there's a new area or it's a really meaningful upgrade that's worth paying for, I'm not for it. I'm not supporting it. The fact we'll get it for free is great, but compared to what Microsoft did, dude, that's like comparing apples to oranges at this point. Come on. I'm not saying Sony is great for talking about GTA 5 in the beginning. Like I said, they're not perfect, but really think about the entirety of that show. Think about how much of an impact GTA 5 really had being talked about for 30 seconds before everything kicked off. Is it really the same? It's not. True Witty, GP about Game Pass about 200 games, PlayStation Now about 900 games and cheaper. Yeah, that's something I've seen a lot of people tell me as well, is how PlayStation Now has significantly more games on it than Game Pass does, which is kind of surprising to me because you would think that maybe Sony, and again, this is where Sony I don't think is perfect. Not that I want to see them put more of an emphasis on PlayStation Now, but you would think that that's something that they would flaunt a little bit more, right? Something they would kind of brag about. But let me just finish reading up this topic here that I had written out because I feel bad if I don't, because I went out of my way to write it. So I said here, on top of the gameplay we did see, the game trailers that they did show for titles that are maybe a little bit further out, like Demon's Souls or Horizon Forbidden West, they did actually, they did a better job. They were 2 to 3 minutes long trailers. They were not just teasers. This was also important for the surprise game announcements that Xbox did, like State of Decay 3 and Fable. They didn't show enough in the trailers. It was hard to get excited when seeing so little. The Avowed trailer from Obsidian was pretty cool, but still, it was really short. Sony was also sure to let everyone know that every single title we saw other than GTA 5 in the intro was actually running on a PS5 console and not PC. Microsoft also spent way too much time on older games or games that are already released compared to Sony. They also actually decided it would be better to show an extended trailer of Psychonauts 2 with Jack Black singing in the background over showing new gameplay or even a new trailer for Hellblade 2. Sony not only had better pacing, but everything they showed had more impact. Yes, Sony had smaller titles, and there was even a bit of a lull period in the middle of their show, but overall, more people than not walked away impressed and excited to buy a PlayStation 5. The same can absolutely not be said for Xbox's game showcase. Rodney, you're saying GTA 5 was just there as sponsors. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like Rockstar, God knows how much money Rockstar paid Sony. Like, please talk about this, in the beginning. Sony's like, well, fine, we'll take your money and we'll talk about it for 30 seconds in the beginning, right? Negative Gamer, you're saying Xbox suffers in the console war because their games have always been developed for PC and console, meaning their specs can't be specific to Xbox. Yeah, I don't know if that's 100% true because you think about the 360 days. I'm sure there were titles developed then that were just specific to the console hardware, right? And I think you could see, I could be wrong, but I'm just assuming. And that is one great strength of Sony is that their developers, I've seen these Xbox guys kind of be like, well, the SSD isn't going to make better games. And if it does, it's just going to be for Sony's first party games. And I'm just like, you say that as if that's not a massive deal. Like, that's huge. Do you not realize how huge that is? Morgan, you're saying, I knew something was up when they were watching that pre-show. Why do you have a bunch of random influencers who have nothing to do with Xbox there? Yeah, dude, that pre-show was like, what the hell? Also, can we talk about the fact that Jacksepticeye seemingly unknowingly roasted Xbox during that pre-show where he's like, yeah, the Xbox, I love it. It's like the center of my living room and it's like the best entertainment box for me, and when I have my PlayStation, I'm just doing it for games, right? Like I'm just playing games, but with my Xbox, I can do all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, does this guy realize what he's doing right now? Like the Xbox is like, oh my God, cut his mic, cut his stream. Nate Doctor, you're saying Xbox first party games, wait for Cyberpunk. Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't even talk about that, dude. That was great. Dude, I want Keanu Reeves on my podcast. How do I contact Keanu Reeves? All right, Cyberpunk is coming out this year. If I ever have any chance in my lifetime of getting Keanu Reeves on this podcast, even if it's just for a minute, it's going to be this year when his game launches. Okay, I need to get Keanu Reeves on here. I don't know how. If anybody knows how to contact Keanu Reeves, let me know. I just watched The Devil's Advocate last night again, and great movie. Sir Speaks a Lot, you're saying, hey, that lull in the middle for PS5 was Bug Snacks, also known as Game of the Year. Yeah, I'm just saying for me it felt like a lull because these are the games that I'm not, like they're not bad games, and same can be said for Microsoft, but they're just not the games that I expect to see, in the big next gen event. That's all. But yeah, can somebody tell me how to get, you're saying Keanu Reeves, I like your ambition. Well, the thing about Keanu Reeves is he seems like a really cool, chill dude, a down-to-earth guy that, hey, if I told him I'm not famous, I'm like a nobody on YouTube, I got this small podcast that probably has nothing to really do with anything meaningful you're doing in your life other than Cyberpunk. But hey, why don't you come on for like a couple minutes and I'll interview you, and to be honest, I wouldn't even want to do that because I wouldn't even be like, guys, look, Keanu Reeves. I'd be like, damn, I just want to talk to Keanu Reeves for a couple minutes. That guy seems really cool. But yeah. A lot of people say Keanu is a nice guy. Yeah, you can tell he's a nice guy, and to be honest, like he's not the main selling point for me on Cyberpunk, but damn, I gotta say, I'm excited. I will warn anybody who is spamming right now, I will not put you on timeout. I will straight up ban you because I do not like spam. So that's your only warning. Not about, I think you blew your shot at getting Jack Black. Dude, I don't have any problem with Jack Black. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. If I had to choose between talking to Jack Black or Keanu Reeves, I'm going to choose Keanu Reeves every time. Again, no offense to Jack Black, but come on, Keanu Reeves. All right, guys. So, Michael, you're saying you're friends with Keanu Reeves, and do I want you to ask him for me? You and him spend a lot of time shutting down Xbox and their guys in their discussions. Yeah, man, that'd be great. Do that for me. All right, so we got to move on to the final topic here before this podcast ends up being way too long. I don't know why this guy thinks I'm playing, but yeah, he's gone. All right, so we're going to talk about Ghost of Tsushima now. Excuse me. We have to talk about Ghost of Tsushima because, guys, there are some big things happening with this game that are kind of blowing my mind a little bit. And I feel bad that they have to happen at the same time because this news is very significant, okay? So, Ghost of Tsushima is officially the best-selling first-party IP from Sony this generation. So let that sink in. Ghost of Tsushima is the best selling first-party IP of the generation. It sold 2.4 million copies in just 3 days. To put that in perspective, Sony's best-selling PS4 title this generation so far is Spider-Man, and it sold 3.3 million in 3 days. And God of War sold 3 million in 3 days. This is an incredible feat and pretty much guarantees either a sequel or a return to this universe on the PlayStation 5, which is very exciting. There's a good chance that by now Ghost of Tsushima has already went on to surpass 3 million copies, maybe, possibly even getting close to 4 million. The previous record holder was actually, let me see here. It was actually Horizon Zero Dawn for a new IP. The previous record holder for a new IP was Horizon Zero Dawn in 2017. Oi Akurumi, you're saying, I just like taking shots at Xbox. It's like poking a dead person. Come to find out that the person is not dead, but you poke it anyway. Not that I've done anything like that. Damn, Oi Akurumi, that got really dark really quick, man. But okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's not fine, but it's dark. I don't know what to say about that. Aki, you're saying Ghost of Tsushima sold out in Japan. PlayStation Japan had to issue an apology on Twitter. Yeah, I saw that. It's the best-selling game in Japan so far for Sony. It actually sold out. And they're like, we promise we'll get more. Negative Gaming, Ghost of Tsushima is quite possibly the best single-player game I've ever played, a samurai game made by Americans. The irony. Yeah, but they did a great job, right? Like, who cares? Like, they respected the culture, in my opinion. And granted, I can only speak from an American perspective, but based off of what I've heard from those who were very familiar with the culture, those who have grown up, with it and understand it way better than I do, they've been saying that, yeah, this game did a phenomenal job in actually being accurate and being respectful to it. And that's what it comes down to, man, and I'm loving the game. Lazim, you're saying people say PlayStation 5 doesn't have a good launch so far. Many people still waiting to play The Last of Us 2 and Ghost on PS5. Better games than what Xbox has at launch. Good point. We still don't really know like what the launch games are going to be for both of these consoles. Funny enough, like we don't know out of the games we've seen on both sides other than Halo, which games are going to be there. We know Godfall will be there. We know Spider-Man, which is, to me, that's good, right? But I think there's going to be a little bit more. Maybe Returnal will be a launch title. That would be great. I think Returnal looks great. Can we talk about how Returnal, real quick, just to deviate from Ghost of Tsushima for a second? Returnal is the game that's being made by Housemarque, the indie developer that is known for games like Resogun and Dead Nation and whatnot. This is their first go at a big AAA game, and it's going to be an exclusive, and Sony's funding it. It looks really good. Can we talk about how it looks better than Halo Infinite? Like, seriously, that is staggering, man. New NES Braga, you exploring the world MBG or mainly story right now? I found that I was getting way too distracted with exploring the world and kind of getting lost in it. And so I kind of now I'm starting to just go heavy in on the story because I just really, I need to play the story, and then I can maybe clean everything up afterwards. But it's really easy to get sidetracked in this game in a good way. Locoism, you're saying I can't figure why Ghost is at an 83 on Metacritic. Me either, because the follow-up here is this. Oh, also, not to mention Returnal is a new IP as well. A lot of people are not realizing that this is a new IP, AAA exclusive that, granted, we don't know like how good it's going to be, but Housemarque has proven to be a quality developer. We've just never seen them make a game this high quality before. And, it might not live up to our expectations of what we expect potentially, but still, if it can, I suspect it will be impressive. So it's a new IP and it has the potential to be there at launch, and it's AAA. So you gotta love that, right? And we saw more of that game than anything else we saw at Microsoft's event. I have to continue to point this out. Project Athia as well. Even that we saw more of. Like, what the hell's going on? The more I think about it, the more angry I get. Okay, so I followed this up by saying, on top of the fact that this is the best-selling new IP of the generation for Sony, Ghost of Tsushima has one of the highest user score ratings on Metacritic, sitting at a 9.3 based on 11,000 votes. For comparison, Breath of the Wild sits at an 8.6, Red Dead Redemption 2 sits at an 8.4, God of War sits at a 9.2, and The Last of Us 1 also sits at a 9.2, and The Witcher 3 sits at a 9.2. This is really an insane accomplishment, and I think it's safe to say that Ghost of Tsushima is a massive hit, and frankly, one of the best games ever produced. I'm still taking my good old time with the game, but man, I have to say, I am now more excited than ever to see what Sucker Punch does with the PS5, because you know it's only going to get better. So it's sitting at a 9.3 right now, actually. It like went up by a single point there. That is insane. Like, that is insane. And it really does make you wonder, like, how is this game sitting at an 83? Let's see, Todd, you're saying Neo and Neo 2 are both excellent games, but they're much more like Dark Souls. I do think The Last of Us 2 and Ghost were way better than Halo Infinite showing. Yeah, to be honest, I think that that's like an objective thing that we can all agree on, that I think it's safe to say that even these games we're getting now at the end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle look and even play better than what we saw of Halo Infinite, which is scary. That's scary for Microsoft. Like that, like if I was an Xbox fan, I would literally, I would be like what is actually happening right now? I can't believe this, right? New NES Braga, you're saying islands outside of mainland explored look stunning. Yeah, there's still a lot of the map I have yet to actually explore and see for myself. But yeah, I'm very, very impressed with Ghost of Tsushima, and my hat is off to Sucker Punch. I think they did an absolutely amazing job with this game, and I really think that it's just such an impressive thing for them to put out, even this late in the like Sony's still doing it. Like, they have not relented, and that is the thing we need to understand. Is even you would think that Sony would slow down right now, considering how far away their competition is, but they're not. Like 2019 or 2020, I should say, was possibly the best year for PlayStation exclusives. Maybe not the best, but damn, did they deliver, and they're still doing it. And it's just like, it just doesn't stop, you know? And yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is hot on the heels of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that's your game of the year. And then we have Dirty Face, you're saying, why the hell are they showing a year-old build at the most important Xbox event? That's an Xbox fanboy's favorite line right now before it was T-Flops. Yeah, I mean, I understand Halo is still a work in progress, but it's an excuse, guys. Like, you can't do that. Again, Microsoft would have been able to get away with this if Sony had the same issues. But their competition is literally out here proving that, no, that's on you. Like, you guys messed up. We're doing what we need to do. Sony didn't make these excuses. Sony showed impressive stuff. And even the freaking Ratchet and Clank gameplay said it was like pre-alpha, looked better. Come on, you know, like it's just unacceptable, man. There was one other topic I had listed here that I want to run off really quick, and I'll ask you guys one more time. Hit that like button. We're actually almost at 1,500 likes, which is incredible. Thank you guys so much for showing just so much support here for the podcast and on the channel. And we have iSiler18. You're saying loving Ghost a lot more now, but when it comes to the story and characters, it's quite dull still. Probably why it's at an 83 on Meta. Everything else is superb. Yeah, I will admit, like, the story, it doesn't have, like, the beginning of it really got its hooks in me, but it seems like it is a little bit slower, and it doesn't have, it's not retaining the hook as much as I thought it would. But to be fair, I am barely like completed the story. I think I have a hell of a lot more to left to go, so I can't really judge it yet, but I can understand why some people may feel that way. Michael, but I do like Jin Sakai as a character. I mean, he's pretty stoic, but I do like him as a character, and I like the supporting characters as well. I think they just need to be a little bit more fleshed out, or they need to just show like more, I don't know, just something. There's a little something more I'm waiting to see. But Michael, you're saying Microsoft at this point needs to delay Halo. Can't believe 343 said they're adding ray tracing post-launch. Unacceptable and irresponsible. 100% agree, Michael. You know, I talked about that in yesterday's video. How the hell can you sit here and brag about your 12 T-flop console brag about ray tracing, talk about your 52 compute units, only to then say, by the way, our launch title, the biggest AAA title, the most expensive AAA title ever made, ray tracing is going to come after launch. How do you do that? How do you do that? Again, I'm not trying to hate. I just genuinely don't understand how anybody could from an executive level at Microsoft could be okay with that. I think, I'm going to be honest, I think they're being too lenient at Microsoft when it comes to what they're like, oh yeah, just do whatever the hell you want. No ray tracing, whatever. Everwild, you don't know what your game's going to be. That's fine. That you can't do that. I'm not qualified, but even I know what is that, Thank you so much, Phillipson22, for becoming a member. We have 4 new members today, and I want to thank you guys so much. Again, I really appreciate you going above and beyond and supporting me directly. If anybody listening right now out of the 2,000 people, if you want to become a member, feel free to do so. I will actually use this opportunity to plug my next members only stuff. So I'm going to attempt to do my members only stream this month. I want to ask you guys to forgive me if I cannot make it happen this month, because frankly, there's just a lot going on right now and I'm trying to keep up with it all. But the number one thing I want to be sure to get out for everybody, including the members, is I'm going to be doing my next episode of MBG and Friends Game Club. And once again, Brown Sugar is going to be back on. And I've decided to call an audible rather than talking about Ghost of Tsushima, because we're still both very, very early in the game. We'll probably talk about it later or maybe something else. But what I want to do is experiment. And with this upcoming MBG and Friends episode, I want to have a conversation with Brown Sugar about this Xbox event and get his perspective on it, see what he thinks. And so I want to let you know that this episode is actually going to be going out to everybody, not just members this time. However, future episodes will be exclusive to members only. Again, I told you guys, I want to try to make some of the episodes go out there for free for everybody, but a lot of them will be exclusive to members as a little something extra. Oh, Yakarumi, you're saying Halo Infinite. LOL, more like Halo Incident. Damn. Spacebar. I see you're saying kind of seems like they might be going the EA route. Yeah, it does seem that way. Rodney, you're saying Infamous Second Son was a PS4 launch title, and they were closing the PS4 with Ghost of Tsushima, both made by Sucker Punch. Yeah, I loved Infamous Second Son. It was great. Chris B, you're saying they definitely should have postponed the event and had old builds. If they had old builds, yeah, not good. They should have got one of their other teams to have something ready to go if Halo wasn't ready. Tyrone Futter, you're saying, how can Xbox say, look at the game is only coming out this holiday, as that's far away? These consoles are launching in 4 months or less. Again, yeah, you're referring to Aaron Greenberg basically saying, look, we're still far out from launch. No. See, guys, this is what I'm saying. Do you know all Microsoft has to say is, well, can you really complain? Because you can get this game for $5-10 on Game Pass, sometimes even $1. So you can't complain, right? And they got me there. You're right, Microsoft. If you're going to give me access to this game at $10, I guess I can't complain about the quality. That's why I kind of hate Game Pass. I'm not saying Microsoft will make that excuse, because the day they say that is the day I will crush them, okay? But I don't suspect they'll ever say something like that, because it would be the dumbest thing for them to ever say. But again, action and what we see in front of us speaks louder than anything these marketing dudes at Microsoft could ever say. What I'm seeing is a very low quality game, or at least a game that's certainly far from being ready. They plan to launch it with the world's most powerful console, and it will be available in Game Pass. And it just doesn't look quality. It just doesn't. Michael, once again, you're saying Microsoft is too anxious to get it out by launch and not thinking about the potential damage to the brand, looking like another Master Chief Collection debacle. 100% agree, man. You make a really good point there. They can't launch a new console without any games, right? So I understand why they would be anxious and feel pressured to get this out at launch, but still, you're going to do significant damage to your brand by doing this if you can't get it together. You know what I mean? They have to get it together. Ekim, thank you so much for becoming a member, buddy. I really do appreciate that. Again, appreciate you guys going above and beyond to support me directly. Look forward to your exclusive perks. Thank you so much. That makes 5 new members. That's definitely great. Really can't thank you guys enough for that. But I wanted to run down this this last topic here, okay? And I'm going to do it really quick if I can find it because my papers are all scattered. NPD analyst Matt Piscatella has revealed the rankings of the top 5 exclusive games based on life-to-date dollar sales, and it just goes to show how successful of a generation that Sony's actually had. Number 1 is Spider-Man. Number 2 is God of War. Number 3 is Horizon Zero Dawn. Number 4 already is The Last of Us Part 2. And number 5 already is Final Fantasy VII Remake. And frankly, it would not surprise me if when it's all said and done, we end up seeing Ghost of Tsushima sitting there in the top 5. So really quick, guys, because this podcast is already over 2 hours long and I don't want to stretch it out longer than it needs to be. We are going to do a Q&A at the end, so stick around for that. But I just want to run down really rapidly here a couple of general gaming news things. iFamous, 19 years as an Xbox fan. They lost me. PS5 day one. Wow. That says a lot, man. Like, if that's true, I've seen a lot of people on my channel, and not just on my channel, but anywhere where there's a conversation about Xbox going down. I've seen a lot of Xbox fans saying they're done. Like, I've seen people literally say, like, good job, Microsoft, you sold me on the PS5. And I'm just like, I'm going to be real. Like, a part of me almost feels a little bit sorry for just how bad this all went down, because I know there's some people who are like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like, have you looked at the response? Have you seen the memes? Have you seen the memes? The memes say it all, man. True Whittier saying, now I miss Donnie D quality in games he delivered. Yeah, people can say what they want about Don Matrick, man. But when it was him running it, I think Phil Spencer was like the head of first party at that time. So I got to give Phil the credit there, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Where's our Rise 2? You know? If Hellblade 2 was supposed to be the replacement for Rise 2, where's it at? I want to see it. Is it really too much to ask for to see more of Hellblade 2 at your big Xbox event? I don't think so. The Mark Shark is saying the day I will crush them. That made me laugh. MBG, you're like the voice of PlayStation fans. I know people see me as a PlayStation fanboy, but I'm opinionated, man, and I'm going to say what I got to say. And, the thing is, if Sony does something to piss me off, I'll tell you. It's just they haven't been doing anything to piss me off. They've only been doing things that I'm like, okay, that sounds good to me. I'm excited. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think that's not hyperbole either. I know some people want to believe that's hyperbole. That's not. Like, dude, you guys have no idea how excited I am for the PlayStation 5 generation. Well, you do. You do have an idea. I'm just saying, like, they haven't been pissing me off for the past 3 years, and they certainly have not been pissing me off this year. But if they do, I'll say it, but they're not. Rodney, you're saying Ghost of Tsushima only used under 4 to 5 T-flops. Halo, you don't know. Yeah, dude. Ghost of Tsushima looks more impressive in many ways than Halo Infinite. Enrico, you're saying even Dealer Gaming was disappointed in the show, which is very telling. Yeah, I watched that after I was done my podcast. I actually tuned into that RDX, and yeah, that was a strange thing to watch. And it's sad. Again, this is where I can respect the guys, not every Xbox dude, because I know there are still some Xbox guys who are like, that was the best. It's like, okay, I guess. But those who were like, wow, like I listened to what they said. They're like, don't hold back your expectations, man. And I agreed. I'm like, yeah, like this is it, man. And even some of them were let down. I'm like, God damn, like that's how you know Microsoft messed up, man. That's how you know. So, Oyakarumi, you're saying on behalf of the first Xbox president who came before Phil Spencer, just deal with it. Oh, God, yeah. That was a whole, man, yeah, I don't know. The Xbox brand has been shooting themselves in the foot for a while now. Chris B, I wish I'd have seen a Quantum Break sequel. Yeah, Quantum Break was not that great, but it had potential to be better. Like, the first outing was good, and I appreciate the fact it was a single player, quality single player experience, and I enjoyed it. But there was like a lot left to be desired. And I was like, if they were to greenlight a sequel and fund Remedy, I think Remedy could maybe make some major improvements to where the next game could really be like that big hit. Same thing with something like Sunset Overdrive, even though critically Sunset Overdrive and not Sunset Overdrive, Rise. Perfect example. The game was great and it had so much potential. And I enjoyed it. I thought people were too hard on Rise. I enjoyed it. And I'm like, if this game gets a sequel, and they could just make these improvements in these areas, it could be like a 9 out of 10 game, maybe even a 10 out of 10, depending on how good it does. Michael, you're saying why they thought it was a good idea to have Ninja Theory come on and say the game is in Iceland is ridiculous. Yeah, dude, like that was bizarre as well. I was like I was excited because I was like, okay, they're going to show it. Like they're going to show it. And then they just didn't. And I'm like, they like shouted out their YouTube channel and I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, and then we went right into Psychonauts 2 and I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? Like I couldn't believe what I was watching. Eddie, who you're saying that show should have been focused on drawing in new people or old customers back to the platform. They did none of that. If anything, they drove people away. Yeah, dude. I mean, to some people that may sound like dramatic, but it's not. Like, Microsoft is in full damage control mode right now, man, and it really is bringing me back to 2013, as sad as that sounds. Like, this isn't as bad. In some ways it is, though. Like, do you guys see the meme? That dude, that ogre-looking dude from Halo? You guys see those memes. They're everywhere. And that face, dude, is like, I made a joke tweet, but I made it because it really is seeming like this. I said, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you Don Matrick 2.0. And it was that dude, that screenshot of that, the brute's face. And, it may sound dramatic, but I'm like, it really feels that way, man. It really does. Chris B, you're saying, that's right. Rise could have been Xbox's Ghost of Tsushima with the right TLC. I agree, dude. It's sad that we'll never see it again. Maybe Microsoft should have considered buying that IP off of Crytek, or maybe buying Crytek. But if you bought the IP, you could at least do something with it. Give it to Ninja Theory. That'd be fantastic. Negative Gaming, you're saying, fun fact, the lightning in Ghosts is real. You can travel to the source or the strikes. Scared the hell out of me for the first time I got struck. Really? That sounds really interesting. I'll have to go check that out. True Witty, you're saying you think Phil will give Sunset back to Insomniac. Actually, True Witty, good news. Sony owns Insomniac, and Insomniac does own the rights to Sunset Overdrive. So in the future, I don't think it's likely, it's not out of the realm of possibility though, in the future, Sony could end up releasing Sunset Overdrive remaster, remake, or a sequel. They could do anything with it. So good news there, True Witty. Let me run down this real quick, though, guys. We got some general gaming news. 343 Industries may have confirmed that Halo will, in fact, run at a dynamic 4K resolution. In a recent interview, studio head Chris Lee talked about the graphical fidelity of the game, responding to the criticism, and said that the Xbox Series X version will run at 60 frames per second up to 4K resolution. This heavily implies that a dynamic 4K resolution should be expected on the world's most powerful console. Moving right along, it turns out that the Xbox Series X exclusive horror game, The Medium, which is a game I think looks pretty cool, is actually a timed exclusive and will be making its way to PS5 at some point in the future. This was confirmed during the Xbox Game Showcase when it was shown off during a section dedicated to console launch exclusives. Also worth noting that game being developed for the Xbox Series X, nothing against the game, because you guys know how I feel about 30 FPS. I'm not for or against it. I just think it's up to the developer. Worth noting, the game will be 4K 30 on the Xbox Series X. Just saying. Ubisoft recently clarified that Far Cry 6 will in fact run in 4K or at 4K on both the PlayStation 4 Pro and the PS5. A spokesperson confirmed this to VentureBeat. So that squashes that. Some rumors about Fable the Fable reboot being a MMO started to spread. Windows Central has since claimed that this is in fact not true. Fable may feature some sort of online service element, such as co-op and shared spaces, but it will not be to the same level as an MMO. I speculated that if this was true, Fable fans were going to be livid. I still believe that. I think Fable fans will even be upset if it's not just purely single player, but it depends on how heavy Microsoft goes in with the multiplayer, because I'm not against the idea of maybe adding in some co-op if it fits. I look at games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne as single player games first, but they do have that online element. If that's what they're going for, it could certainly work. Michael, you're saying Xbox Showcase definitely gave you E3 2014 vibes. Too many CG trailers. Looks like they haven't learned. I know, man. It's sad. That's the thing too, is it does seem like they really haven't learned somehow. Guilty Smoker, you're saying, I would love to be a fly on the wall in Phil Spencer's office. He knows he has disappointed Xbox fans. Shaking my head. Yeah, dude, that's the thing. To be honest, at this point, if Phil doesn't get the wake-up call that he needs to manage the Xbox division in a different way, because the thing is, it's not just Phil Spencer's fault. I know we like to make jokes sometimes and stuff, but Phil Spencer, he is at the top, and he makes all the calls at the end of the day. He calls the shots. And so, in my opinion, this should be the loudest wake-up call that you need to change something. And to be honest, maybe he can't. Maybe his hands are tied. Maybe they're having trouble actually bringing on talented enough developers. Maybe Phil's just trying to make the best of a bad situation where it's turns out money can't solve all of our problems. You know what I mean? And just buying studios and trying to buy talent doesn't mean you're going to retain talent. Doesn't mean you're guaranteed talent. You know what I mean? And maybe this is a situation where no matter how hard Phil tries, it just isn't working the way he wants it to. And if that's the case, I kind of feel for it, because it's damn, that really does suck, but it's not my job. I'm not being paid the big bucks. And if I was, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to be real right now. If I ran the Xbox division tomorrow, I would immediately start just straight up copying Sony's formula. Okay? That's what I would do. I would copy it. You want to know why? Because it works. It works. Rather than sitting here saying I need to forge the future, I'm all about the future as well, but I would just do Sony's formula because I'm people love it. People love it. Let's do it. And you can't, to be fair, you can't just copy it that easily. There is a certain level of there's a certain degree of talent that it's not something that money can buy. That, you know what I mean? So in that case, maybe that's why Microsoft isn't copying Sony, because maybe they just know that we can't compete in that same way. And that, to me, that's depressing. I don't like to think of it that way, because that's just depressing. Jonathan M, better Microsoft grabbing Ninja Theory than Insomniac. Yeah, you're saying that's your 2 cents. If I had to choose between Sony getting Insomniac or Ninja Theory, certainly Insomniac. It would have been great to see both, but like I said, I think Microsoft needs Ninja Theory a lot more than Sony does. Aki, once again, you're saying true. Talent tends to accumulate where talent is. Yeah, dude, that's the thing, man. Just to kind of calm this podcast down a little bit before we get to the end of it, it's I know I said I was going to talk about the good things from this Xbox show, and I'm not going to do that, only because you guys know, for me, the good thing, there's 2 good things. One is there were more games revealed for the future, and even if they are years out, it's still nice to see new games revealed, even if we barely saw anything of them. So there's at least that. But the other thing too is you guys know I am excited for State of Decay 3. I was genuinely pumped when I saw that. It was disappointing to see it was just a CG trailer and we're not going to, I do got to admit, this Crossfire game, as I'm looking at it, it does look pretty good. I got to admit. It's a little bit more impressive than I was expecting. So if that's what I'm looking at right now. It might not be though. But I just got to say, I was genuinely hyped. I don't know if this is Crossfire. Somebody let me know. Anyway, I was genuinely hyped for State of Decay 3. I was like, you heard it in my voice, but after that, it just kind of went downhill. And yeah, okay, that was Crossfire. And I don't know. I don't know, guys. There just wasn't that much to really be truly excited about, in my opinion. I would have, I just can't help but think, like, how much different would this show have been if we saw the Initiative's new game? Maybe that would have completely canceled out Halo, and we could have walked away saying that was a pretty good show, MBG Gaming Bolt said the character models in Halo hold up against The Last of Us Part 2. Maybe Master Chief's model, but I don't know about that. True Whittier saying, question, Game Pass is to be the Netflix of games, but Netflix has 190 plus million subs and is bleeding money. For Xbox to be a success, it needs microtransactions. Yeah, another thing about Netflix, you guys let me know. Netflix is completely hit or miss, in my opinion. Like, Netflix, in my opinion, they have this like approach where just throw as much shit at the wall as you can at one time, and just based off of probability, a few things will stick. So it's like you may have to, because I've seen some really, really terrible garbage on Netflix, but I've also seen some pretty good stuff. And it's just a completely mixed bag. It's not like HBO, right? Like with HBO, you're getting quality. Like the show may not be for you, but you can't deny the quality. Chris B, are we afraid Microsoft might pull 2015 and cancel some of these games? Maybe close studios. I hope not, dude. I really hope not. That would be the worst case. Rodney, you're saying, I would want Heavenly Sword PS5, but that's never going to happen. Frankly, it's probably not, buddy. Michael, once again, you're saying, agree with you 100%. They should mimic how Sony showcases their first-party games with gameplay trailers, not CG. That's what gets hype. I agree. Show the whole thing. As Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, don't be afraid. Show the whole package, Oyakarumi, you're saying Xbox equals welcome to Imagination Land, where all your dreams will come true, because right now, reality is not looking good. Power your dreams, because that's all you're going to have are dreams. Oh, man. Burn. I'm just playing, but yeah, am I off on the Netflix thing, guys? I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Like, am I off the mark when it comes to the idea that, Netflix is just completely hit or miss with their content? Because to me, it just really comes off that way. And I feel like that's why, like, I don't get excited when Microsoft's like, we're going to be the Netflix of games. I'm like, the convenience of Netflix it's undeniable. The convenience is fantastic. And the barrier to entry is pretty low. However, prices have raised, over the years. But it's just like I'm going to be real. Like, when it comes to Netflix shows, I'm usually expecting it to be bad before it's going to, and not good. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised when I watch some shows that are good. Like that show Haunting of Hill House was really good. I watched that show You as well. That was pretty solid, and maybe some other stuff I'm forgetting. But I remember watching some movies and some other shows. I'm just like, oh my God, like this is not good, at all. But Negative Gaming, you're like, all right, so we know Microsoft flopped their showcase, but can we talk about Forza? What a gorgeous, well-made series. Yeah, I agree, man. Like, I love Forza, specifically the Horizon games. You guys know this. And it's difficult for me to get super excited for the motorsport game for a few reasons. First of all, Stranger Things as well. That's true. When it comes to Forza Motorsport, the one they showed, there's a few reasons it's difficult for me to get excited for it. The first is Phil did emphasize it's an early development, which is weird to me because I'm just like, I don't like, for a franchise that went from being like, a bi-yearly franchise, now it seems like it's kind of far out. That's whatever. But it's also because it's the motorsport games and I'm not as into them, but it does look really good. I'm frankly, personally very excited to see the next Horizon because I really loved Horizon 4. Let me finish running down this though, because this podcast is literally going to turn out to be 3 hours, and I want to get it done before my voice goes out. I already read that. Sony is sending out free PlayStation Store credit to PlayStation Plus subscribers to celebrate the 10th anniversary of PlayStation Plus. If you do receive it, be sure to check out the summer sale that's currently happening on the PlayStation Store. Junji Ito, I don't know who this is, but I think they're famous in the like horror manga world or whatever, has confirmed, and this is what's interesting, he has confirmed that Hideo Kojima is working on a new horror game in a new interview he did during Comic-Con 2020, and that Kojima wants him to be involved in it. That's currently all we know. But it seems clear that Kojima is planning to work on a horror game. Michael, you're saying hopefully the August show, which Phil accidentally let slip, will show us more, but I'm not convinced just yet. I'll tell you, look, I was about to say this August show is Microsoft's last chance, but I'm not going to say that because this was their last chance and they blew it. However, I will say that it would bode very well for them to put a lot of critical thought and care into just what exactly they plan to show during this August event. Because if they show the Initiative's new game and actually, I don't know, maybe show a little bit of gameplay and it's not just a tease, that would be fantastic. That would be great for them. If they could show more of Hellblade, that would be great. They could just show more gameplay of something that looks just better than Halo. That would be great. And sadly, at that point, that would be successful for them. So they blew it. And frankly, when I do I'll most likely live stream this August event, I'm expecting disappointment. And I'm frankly going to go into it with a negative attitude because I don't expect to be surprised in any capacity. And if I am, great. But I'll believe it when I see it. So we also have SJR5991 saying Avowed was my game of the show because Obsidian could potentially be, this could be their trump card in the future among their developers. Almost the only reason why I would potentially ever get a Series X. Yeah, dude, like that game Avowed looks like it could be a great game. It's just we have no idea how far out it is. We have no idea when we're going to expect to see gameplay of it. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to know about it. It's nice to know it's eventually going to be a thing that comes down the line, and it could be like the next Skyrim. That's what people are saying. But, you know, you're going to have to wait for it, you know, and that's what sucks. And the thing is, it's not just about the waiting. It's like if we knew that these games were coming in the first year, right? Freeze Vamp, I want to let you know, if you need to send me something that you believe may be of importance or for any business inquiries, my email is muscleboundgamer@gmail.com. So if there's anything of importance that anybody may need to send or whatever, muscleboundgamer@gmail.com. Because it's difficult for me to read all the messages, buddy. So, but yeah, if these games were coming within the first year, I don't know, man, it wouldn't be as bad, but they're not. Like, it really does seem like a lot of these games that Microsoft showed might not be till 2022, 2023, maybe even beyond that. To whereas when you look at Sony, you are very clearly seeing games that will be coming within the first year. Even Horizon Forbidden West was confirmed for 2021. So, Spider-Man, you're saying, I call hypocrisy. I've watched your videos on what Microsoft needed to have a good show. The Xbox Series X event checked all those boxes. State of Decay 3, 4 AAA games, new IPs, diverse lineup. Listen, man, I said that the one thing Microsoft needs to have, and granted, I will give them credit for this, they need at least one new AAA IP. I think Avowed checks that box. But again, dude, like, listen, I did say that Microsoft needs to show games, new games, more games. And you could argue they did do that. But we need to be real right now, Spider-Man. How did they convey that? You know, did they convey it in a real exciting way? When I sit back and I think about it, I'm going to be honest and say, yeah, they did announce new games, but they're just CG trailers. All of them. Michael, you're saying, what hypocrisy? They showed CG trailers, give us no indication of what those first-party games will be. Listen, it is nice to see. Like I said, I will give Microsoft the credit that they do deserve, which is, yes, good job. You did show new games. However, you didn't show gameplay, and we have absolutely no idea when we can anticipate these games at all. Sony made it pretty damn clear, if I'm not mistaken, and unless they're being really misleading, I don't think they are. Sony made it pretty clear. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, Demon's Souls, Returnal, Horizon, all these games do not seem like they're 2022 games, or beyond. You screamed louder for State of Decay 3 than the PS5 event. I screamed louder because I was like, damn, I will admit, who saw that coming? I didn't. Look, State of Decay is not the biggest franchise. It's certainly not a beloved franchise, at least not to many. To me, it is. So it was like, yeah, that was like one thing that for me made that show really worth watching, where it's like, okay, and I will admit this, when State of Decay 3 comes out, if it's an Xbox Series X game and I can't play it on my One X, I will buy an Xbox Series X for that game. But something tells me that it's not, like, it's hard for me to maintain or retain that excitement, because it's like, look, like, how can I be excited for a game that's not coming until like possibly 2022 or 2023? They literally said, and I will tell you, this deflated my hype, dude. Undead Labs official Twitter said that they are actually in pre-production of the game. Pre-production. So that CG trailer is not even remotely indicative of what we can expect from the game. Not even close. And so, to be honest, if I had known that when I first saw it, I wouldn't have screamed as loud, because I'm like, oh, well, it's nice to know they're making it. I'm excited about that, but when I heard it's in pre-production State of Decay 2's been out for 2 years now, 2+ years, that kind of kills my hype. That would be like Sony announcing, I don't know, the next God of War, but then it's in pre-production, and it's very clear we're probably not going to see it for 2 to 3 years from now, in a meaningful way. And I'm just like, God damn, like, that's kind of disappointing, Don, thank you so much for becoming a new member, buddy. I really do appreciate that. Again, that's 6 new members for the stream. Thank you guys so much. Anybody who does want to become a member, feel free to join. You get exclusive perks and exclusive content, and you get to support me directly. So thank you so much for that, guys. I really do appreciate it. Negative Gamer, you're saying Musclebound Gamer is your email, correct? Verifying for another member who can't spell it. Yes. Guys, maybe I made a mistake announcing that on the stream. I'm going to politely request, try not to spam my email. I only really respond to people on email if it's actually something of importance, or if it's a business inquiry or something like that. That's what I try to save my email for. Also, I don't check my email that frequently. So that's another thing you want to keep in mind. Todd Rogers, you're saying, why would Microsoft say everything from this point ran on Xbox Series X when they lied? August 6th, PlayStation ends. Xbox ran on PS4. Yeah, dude, I'm really interested to see what this August event's going to be, because it's like, I just don't know what Sony's going to, like, what to anticipate from them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how big the event's going to be. I don't know if maybe now they feel like, oh, like, we'll hold back even more, potentially. Michael, once again, you're saying, like you said, it's nice to know these games are being made, but they should still borrow Sony's playbook and show the games when they're ready. Yeah, like, here's the thing, dude. Like, I did say, like, this is the time for Microsoft to show it all. I just didn't literally expect them to show only gameplay of Halo. Like, that's the thing that blew my mind, because I expected, like, if you want to tease Fable, I expected more of a significant tease than that. If you're going to tease State of Decay, I think that was fine. But then when you tease your game Avowed, I don't know, man. Like, you're going to tell me you don't have gameplay ready at all for Everwild or the Initiatives game? Like, you don't have any other gameplay to show? Like, that's the thing that blows my mind about, like, the new game announcements, where it's like, that is great, but where the hell is the gameplay? And the gameplay you show is terrible from Halo. It's baffling. That's all. So, I mean, you can tell my energy levels are dropping because I've just yelled and ranted so much. I don't have anything left in me, man. Sir Speaks a Lot, you're saying, gonna sign MBG up for PUB Live. Hell yeah. Oh God, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Stream my podcast on there? And I'm gonna, like, somebody's gonna, like, make me wear it and be like, what the hell is happening? Hey, exposure, whatever, exposure. I'll take it. Anybody who wants to tune into the podcast, I don't care where they're coming from. Just tune into the podcast, right? What? God. You want to see me stream Bug Snacks? Yeah. Maybe I think that would be a fun game to stream at least once. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of streaming games too much. I to be honest, it seems like interest in it on my channel isn't that high. It just really depends on the game. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Let me see here. Rumors of just a heads up, there were rumors of Halo Infinite's multiplayer actually being delayed. And they started to actually gain traction, but 343 has confirmed that it's not getting delayed, at least right now. I'm sure things are subject to change, but right now there are no plans to delay Halo Infinite's. You can't tell if MBG is 19 or like 30. I'm not 19 and I'm not 30. So make of that what you will. But let me see here. I have one last thing written down here. The developers of the upcoming console launch exclusive Godfall have confirmed that the game is not a service and will not feature microtransactions. So, good news there for sure. If you're somebody who was planning on, supporting Godfall, but you were maybe trying to wait to see if it was going to be a live service game or if it was going to be microtransaction heavy, you can feel confident now in giving them your money, because that's the only money they're going to get unless they have like DLC or unless they lie, but I don't think they'll lie. So that's good. Michael, once again, you're saying, man, if they had announced something Banjo-Kazooie related, would have made me a little happier. LOL. Yeah, that's the thing too, is like some people were hoping to see maybe, more significant revivals of classic, of classic series that are known under Xbox. But give me one sec here, guys, while I alter this. So I am now putting the chat in slow mode, and we are now going to enter the Q&A section of a portion of the podcast. So ask me any questions you have. Keep in mind, I will simply not be able to answer all of them, but I will do my best. Do you think that the PS5 will outsell the most sold console, which is the PS2? I do not think so. However, I think it could potentially end up selling more than the PS4 at the rate it's going, and at the rate PlayStation continues to grow. Ghost of Tsushima bonus content has a Japanese history professor. He said, this is middle-aged Japan. I'd recommend this to any student studying history. Thoughts? Hey, man, if you can play games and learn something as well, that's fantastic. MBG is 24. I am not 24. Let's not forget that the day Game Pass goes away, so does everyone's entire library. That's a very important point. If people are going to stop buying games and still be a gamer for decades to come, that is true. MBG is immortal. Yes, I can confirm. Xbox made a mistake on naming the Xbox Game Showcase. It was supposed to be How to Waste 12 T-Flops. Good one. Before Destiny released, Bungie said they had no plans to implement microtransactions, so saying that really doesn't mean anything. That's true. MBG, are you excited for the DualSense controller and its features? Yes. MBG, are you single? I'll just leave that up in the air. If you want to believe I'm single and some kind of loser that dwells in the basement, you can believe that. If you want to think I'm some kind of high roller with women around me all the time, you can believe that. If you want to believe I have a wife, you can believe that. If you want to believe that I just have a girlfriend, you can believe that. MBG. Oh, hold on. I don't want to miss these super chats, guys. Hold your questions. I don't watch any of your game streams because I still need to play them myself and don't want them spoiled. Yeah, that's true. Maybe it would be more beneficial to go back to streaming older games. Stalker 2 has always been a PC exclusive series. Seeing it come to Xbox as well is interesting, but I can't help but worry about how that will affect the series development wise. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about Stalker 2, but I'm not familiar with the Stalker series. It did look cool though, so there was that as well. Something tells me that will eventually make its way to PS5 though. Will the PlayStation Plus be getting an upgrade? I certainly hope so. Do you believe the Xbox will eventually bring its games to PlayStation? Eventually, I think they will, a long time from now. What's your take on the rumored God of War photorealism graphics? I think Corey Barlog is confirming that there's no God of War reveal coming. The God of War rumored game could be a game where you play as a grown-up, as Atreus leads a sequel. Yeah, I can see that. This guy says you are definitely single, so you are gay then. Okay, I'll make it easier for you guys. I'm neither of those things. So, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. You a good dude, MBG. Thank you. I appreciate that. MBG High Roller confirmed. PS5 is MBG's wife. Yeah, I'm gonna marry a PS5, guys. I have to admit that here. Am I getting a PS5 day one and what version? Yes, disc version. Why do Xbox fans continue to say that Spider-Man is a DLC when Insomniac literally said it's a standalone game? I guess they're just not paying attention. MBG face reveal, maybe eventually. August 6th is my birthday. If they make that event on my birthday, then it's a sign. Yes, it is. Do you think the Xbox Series X looks like a fridge or a toaster? I think it looks more like a fridge or a mini fridge. Yeah. Could you please look at the Xbox YouTube views compares to Sony? It's ridiculously funny how bad it is. Maybe. I don't even think it's worth it at this point. Guilty Smoker, you're saying, how do you think Phil is feeling after all the negative comments about the show? I mean, I can only speculate that he's probably really frustrated and is maybe considering making some changes. I can only hope, because if Phil has this mentality, they just don't understand. They're just not ready. It's the future. I'm going to continue digging my heels in this stance. Well, maybe that's, I don't know. He's in good at Microsoft. So if they're happy with him, that's all that matters, truthfully. Let's not forget that. Yeah, I saw that. Trying to keep up here, guys. I'm missing a lot of these. Do you think it's okay for game trailers to have CGI concepts while the movie industry would never? Maybe. I don't know, honestly. Michael, again, you're saying Phil and Aaron have their heads in the sand. Yeah, it kind of does seem like that, doesn't it? Aaron Greenberg's the worst sometimes, though. But I don't know. I don't know who's worse, Phil or Aaron, with the shit they say. Could you put the podcast on Spotify? I don't know, man. There's a lot to it, and you guys have to understand, like, the bulk of my effort and energy goes into running this channel on a daily basis, and it's hard to do that while also doing a weekly podcast. I do daily content. You know, going down that route, it's like I can only stretch myself so thin here. It does require, I looked into it, it certainly requires some work. It's something that if it happens, it'll happen later on in the future. So I can't make any promises. For now, it's just going to be on YouTube. MBG, do game reviews. I mean, I try to review PlayStation games, but maybe in the future I'll do more reviews. Michael, once again, thank you for all the super chats, buddy. You're saying Aaron for sure. He overhypes and downplays all the time. Yeah, at least with Phil, like, he kind of comes off like, yeah, you know, I hear the feedback. We could improve. But it's almost like he says that, but then it's like he goes and he's like, or, you know, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, you know? What year will Microsoft put Game Pass on Sony's console? 2026. 2026. Excuse me. Did you know that Xbox stocks dropped because of the event? I did not know that, but I have to say I'm not all that surprised, buddy. We have Rumpleneck. It's a hell of a name. Do you think if Phil wasn't doing all this smack talk, the show would have had a better reception? I think no, I don't think the reception to the show would have been better. I just think there would be less of, I think people would be less angry and aggressive. I think people would still be very disappointed, but I think because Phil had a lot to say, you know, Psychonauts 2 looks like a Ratchet and Clank Chinese knockoff. Damn. You didn't answer my comment on purpose. Why? I'm sorry, the Mark Shark. I probably missed it. I don't know. I am not answering that, Lance. MBG gets mad late. Nah, I don't know about that either. That sounds a little bit, you know, I do have morals here. I do have values. Sony still has VR games. That's true as well. That is true. What do you think would happen to Xbox if Sony paid Rockstar to make GTA 6 a PS5 exclusive, or at least a tiny exclusive? I think that's the equivalent of after Sony uppercuts, like Sony would uppercut Microsoft or Xbox, and Xbox would be on the ground, like laying flat. That would be the equivalent of them pulling out a double-barreled shotgun and then just blowing their head off. If that were to ever actually happen, which I don't think it ever could, but if it were, that's what it would seem like to me. Because at that point, not a single soul would buy an Xbox. Do you think that rumored game with Mark Cerny is working on is a Jack and Daxter reboot? If it's real, I certainly could see that being it. MBG, do you need channel art? No, I'm good on that right now, buddy. I'm running super behind here. Michael, you're saying they definitely need to learn to keep their mouth shut at Microsoft. Just let the content speak for itself. Agreed. If there's a single thing that they could learn from Sony recently, it's that. Like, talk only when you're ready. And when you're going to talk, it's best to let the games and the products do the talking for you. And only talk when you really need to. Big Stout, isn't Crossfire X a timed exclusive? Most likely. Most likely, yes. MBG, do you think Xbox Series X will be the last Microsoft console? If it sells, I'll put it to you this way. It's an interesting question. If the Xbox Series X fails to sell better than the One, I think it will be. I think you'll see a mid-gen refresh for sure, but I don't know. MBG, have you watched Xbox Traders channel? It's a good channel. I think you would identify with that guy. Well, I haven't heard of it. I'll have to go check that out. If the digital PS5 came with 2 terabyte storage built in, will that change your mind of getting a physical edition? No. I need my physical content, honestly. Halo Infinite is touting an open world. Be honest, does this look like a world you want to explore? It looks like a generic multiplayer arena. Red Dead Redemption, Cyberpunk, and Tsushima are the bar for open worlds. 100% agree. Like that wasn't even something I even talked about, how like bland and uninspired the the open world looked. Michael, once again, you're saying would definitely love to see Jack and Daxter. It's been way too long. I think I've seen a lot of people saying they want to see Jack and Daxter return. I never played the games, so yeah, maybe that's blasphemy for some people. But what are your plans for the channel after the consoles have been released? The plan is going to be to just continue to cover PlayStation news. It's going to be a long generation, so the PS5 will be the center of the channel, and PlayStation in general will be the center of the channel. But I am, I've been thinking about that recently, and how going into the future, there's going to be plenty of room for opportunity for me to evolve my content and try different content. Something I've been considering are doing reaction videos. But only to like specific things, because not only is that a really popular thing, but I feel like the closest thing I've gotten to that are my live reactions to events, and they've been, the response to them has been fantastic. So I'm almost thinking like in the future, maybe we'll evolve that even more. We'll still do the live events, but maybe when there's not much news and there's not much to talk about like there is right now, we could do reaction videos to other things. Maybe it's to what other people are saying, or maybe just different things that are being revealed, whatever. I'm not saying my channel will ever become one of those channels where every single video is reaction, because I just wouldn't enjoy that. But I think that maybe that's something we could do. Maybe in the future, I could start doing more gameplay content, more game streams of older titles potentially. These are just things I've been thinking about to kind of add more content to the channel, because, I suspect that the channel will still be very relevant as long as PlayStation is relevant, and as long as I'm choosing to cover PlayStation. And I don't think PlayStation's relevance is going to drop anytime soon. I think they would need to really mess up significantly in order to make that happen. And so, yeah, ultimately, I do have plans to, let the channel's content evolve naturally over time. But, Michael Stemp, you're saying, MBG, I've contacted Keanu Reeves for you and sent you some epic screenshots of classic convos with him. Plus, I'm defending PS5 against Xbox. You will see on Twitter in your DM. All right, Michael, I really do appreciate that. Hopefully he responds, and we can get Keanu Reeves on this podcast at some point. MBG is doing ASMR videos. Yeah, that would be pretty funny, right? Hey, MBG, can you do an ASMR PS5 unboxing video? Yeah, that would be really interesting, wouldn't it? I'll just tell you about how the PS5 feels. It feels so smooth. Like, I don't know if I could see myself actually doing an entire video like that. It would be really weird, but hey, you never know. I will admit, I feel like doing a ASMR unboxing would just garner more views than doing a regular, just because it's like, wait, MBG does ASMR now. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't do it. You guys are saying do it. Maybe. MBG, do a interview video of you and Keanu Reeves. I would love to. I just need to know how to contact them. Did you ever play the Silent Hill PT demo? Guys, I just like to think that if I, on a weekly basis, if I, like clockwork, continually mention Keanu Reeves and getting him on here, over time, like eventually, somehow, either he or someone close to him will, or his agent or something will hear about it and they'll be like, you know? Still too loud for ASMR. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I would have to figure out how to properly adjust the mic to properly do ASMR. Don't encourage the weirdos, MBG. I know, right? I don't know. I shouldn't encourage that. But you know, we're just trying to have some fun here. You sounded like you fainted. Todd Rogers, do you think Sucker Punch will resurface Prophecy? I mean, it's possible. I doubt it. Considering the success of Ghost of Tsushima, the success we're seeing with sales-wise and user score Metacritic, I don't see that. Tony B just watched the relaxing end. Oh, yeah. I guess maybe there wouldn't have to be any... I wouldn't have to say anything, right? Yeah. But I don't know. I'm so used to talking in my videos. The idea of doing a video with no talking whatsoever is weird. Do you still think Silent Hill is real and coming? I do think it's real and I do think it is coming. So, get all 1,200 viewers to @Keanu 3 times each. I don't think Keanu Reeves has Twitter as far as I know, but if he does, yeah, feel free to do that, guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you, buddy. I'll try my best. Bright Memory Infinite is rumored to not be an Xbox exclusive. It wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being a timed exclusive, honestly. MVG, want to play Warzone? I actually haven't been playing Warzone, so I cannot. Eddie Who, been working 7 days. Thanks for the stream. Definitely helped my time pass today at work. I'm lucky to be able to catch the streams live. I hope you have a great day, bro. About to get on some Ghosts. Well, thank you so much, Eddie. I'm glad that I can help make your work life a little bit easier and a little bit more enjoyable. Thank you so much for showing your support continually here, man. And honestly, that sounds like a plan to me. I think that's what I'm going to do as well. Maybe a little bit later, hop on some Ghost of Tsushima. Are you placing your PS5 horizontally or vertically? Most likely vertically, because I just think it looks really cool that way. And hopefully I have enough room. Why do you insist on keeping your identity hidden? Like Peter P. I don't know. I just feel like, is it necessary? You know, I mean, in the future, maybe it doesn't have to be so hidden, but I don't know. To me, it makes it easier to keep the channel gaming focused. And I understand that, like, the personality I bring to the channel and the opinion obviously is a big part of it. But, you know, I just feel like, what's wrong with just being known as MBG, you know? My alter ego, I guess, even though it's not really an alter ego. What is my favorite console? So far, the PS4, most likely up next going to be the PS5. If the Xbox event had solid gameplay in release years, would that change your opinion about it? Of course, yes, big time. Big time. The release dates, I would even be able to get over if they showed more gameplay. If they showed some more release dates, I would be a little bit more like, okay, that's nice, but it's the lack of gameplay ultimately that's just really like, oh, God. Michael, you're saying, what are your thoughts on Microsoft potentially acquiring WB Games? I do have a video dedicated to that, but just to kind of summarize, I think it would be a big win for them. But I just don't know that it would be as big of a win as some people think. It would be good, but it would be a big moment. I don't know that it's likely to happen. That's all. MBG, when will you turn 49? Let me check here. I think I'm going to turn 49 in about 3.5 weeks. So yeah. MBG, save my eyes from that horrific Halo gameplay. I just look away, man. Look away. Let me see here. MBG, nothing wrong with a little privacy. Yeah, I agree. You know, MBG, there's nothing wrong with how you're doing your content. Keep up the good work. Thanks, bud. I plan to. Thanks for the content. You got to go. Take care of yourself. Yeah, we've been streaming for a long time here. We're approaching the 3-hour mark, but you guys have just shown such incredible support here. It's, it's hard to end it abruptly or soon. I just have a tendency to keep going on. But with that being said, guys, I am going to end the podcast here. What do you think about an MGS remake? I would absolutely love to see an MGS remake. I just don't think it's likely, but you're 48. I thought you were 25. I'm not 48. I'm just going to keep you guessing, man. However old I sound to you is how old I am. All right. I think that's just the simplest way to put it. iSiler18, you're saying the pricing for the consoles is irritating at this point. We're only a few months away. Also, Call of Duty is MIA again. It's weird. I heard a rumor, guys. I've seen it floating around that apparently Call of Duty is going to be announced on August 5th. And it's funny because that's the day before apparently, supposedly, Sony's next event or their state of play. So maybe we could see the first teaser reveal for Call of Duty on the 5th, and then we'll actually see it properly revealed on the 6th. So we'll see. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for episode 25 of Press X Podcast. It did go for quite some time here. I'll have to, not going to have fun time stamping this, but I know you guys appreciate it when I do that, so I don't mind. But I just want to give a big thank you to every single person who showed up during the podcast. A big thank you to those who are going to watch afterwards. You guys have shown just absolutely amazing support here. I'm just going to ask one more time that you leave the stream a like if you haven't already on your way out. I also want to thank all of my new members, all of my current members, everybody who donated super chats. You guys are absolutely awesome. And to be 100% honest with you, I literally would not be able to do this the way I do it if it wasn't for your continued support. So look forward to the content coming out this upcoming week, and it seems like we're going to have some more PlayStation stuff to look forward to going into August, maybe even some more Xbox stuff for better or for worse. But either way, I am hyped, and yeah, it's going to be awesome. So that's going to do it, guys. Until next time, take care.